I start by building Chase. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276. The opportunity to win glory has come. The generals who came to help from all over the country were confused. Everyone understood the words Wang's Empire Space Force, but the words expressed by these words were a little difficult to understand. However, they were confused for a short time. Because the Ming Kingdom was about to hold a grand banquet, on the one hand, it could increase friendly relations, and on the other hand, it was hoped that a certain minister could get close to the other party and learn more about the other party's details. During this period, Lin Chen and others sent the information of this planet to the Empire. The feedback from the Empire was also very fast, indicating that an expedition team would come on a new spaceship in the near future. But when they really arrived, Lin Chen and others were collectively dumbfounded. Didn't they say it was the expedition team? How could they all look at the large group of rough men coming down from the spaceship in disbelief? They were Li Wangshithong, Zhao Yao and other Legion commanders. They were wearing colorful beach pants, fancy short-sleeved shirts, and digital cameras hanging around their necks. As soon as they got off the spaceship, they took a lot of photos of the environment here. It was as if they were on vacation. Then he breathed in the air intoxicatedly and said with a smile, "Ah, the air here is so good, the environment is beautiful, and there is green everywhere." Question mark. Lin Chen was confused. Aren't they from the expedition team? How did they become this group of rough men? The Azure Star is entering an era of rapid development. All countries are busy developing technology. We military attacks are idle, and they are afraid that we will do something idle, so Xinglai told us about this planet. Li Yangshithong made a scissor hand gesture, waiting for the commander of the Third Army to take a photo of him. During his free time, he explained a few words to Lin Chen. "Oh, that's right, we're here for vacation. I heard that the environment here has not been damaged, so we came here for vacation for a while." The commander of the Third Army joked. After a round of teasing, the faces of these rough army commanders suddenly became solemn. Lin Chen hesitated and asked, "Do you have any business besides vacation?" "We are going to see the war god of the Ming dynasty, to pay homage to the war god who buried 500,000 soldiers. Such an impressive record can be called a model for our generation." Oh, everyone seemed to understand. These people may be on vacation for no reason, but they're here to admire the war god of the Ming dynasty. After all, they are all soldiers. And the former emperor of the Ming dynasty, Zhu Qixin, has a fatal attraction to them. The Legion leaders all showed their eagerness to try. In fact, they were indeed so because of a low-level civilization. Lin Chen said, "Okay, I'll take you there tomorrow. It just so happens that the Ming dynasty has a banquet tomorrow at noon that invites us." Everyone agreed, no problem. Lin Chen was about to return to the spaceship, but he found that some people cast ambiguous eyes at him. Question mark. Lin Chen. "There is another spaceship behind us. It's not convenient for a group of men like us to come with her." Lin Chen asked, "Is it ship?" Everyone nodded in unison. After a while, with a whoosh, another Millennium Falcon landed. Jiangxi got off the spaceship gracefully, but her pretty face was obviously a little paler, as if she was a little unfamiliar with the spaceship and felt unwell. A large group of expedition teams came down from behind, preparing to investigate this planet to see if there are any new elements. Jiangxi smiled at Lin Chen and said, "We will have to take a spaceship in the future." Here's a large group of people around got goosebumps. The next day, in the Palace of Deming, a banquet was held as scheduled in the Palace of Deming. Of course, both sides knew what this banquet was for. It was just a mutual benefit. Deming was afraid that Wang's empire would suddenly start a disaster, and Wang's empire needed Deming to give an order to ensure that the exploration team would not encounter any trouble. But there were obviously many more people coming today. Deming Queen Mother Sun Rui found many new faces, especially who was the young woman next to Lin Chen. Sun Rui has always been confident in her looks, otherwise she would not have been able to become the queen and queen mother. However, today she was really hit hard. This woman is generous, like a fairy in a poem or painting, making people want to take a second look. Lin Chen said, "This is my fiancée, the eldest princess of the empire, Jiangxi." The scene suddenly fell into a strange silence. It's not that they haven't seen the princess before, but the princess of Deming definitely doesn't have this kind of extraordinary temperament. Many ministers of the Ming dynasty dropped their chopsticks on the ground. They looked at each other in disbelief, then immediately retracted their gazes and stopped doing anything abrupt. In fact, they were afraid of annoying others. Sun Ruhe was also a little uncomfortable, so she had to laugh dryly and said, "Hello, princess from the Wangxian Empire." Jiangxia responded politely, "Hello." Fortunately, after 3 rounds of wine and tea, the Kaifeng became active again, and the minds of the dignitaries of the Ming dynasty also became active. Because there are many new faces today, does that mean these people are all new from outer space? Many officials of the Ming dynasty were curious about the identities of the legion commanders of the Wangxi Empire, and even the Queen Mother Sun Ruhe was no exception. Those 15 people seemed to be more reckless than each other, but the Queen Mother Sun Ruhe had lived in the palace for a long time and controlled the government, so she was very accurate in judging people. She caught a glimpse of light flashing in the corners of the eyes of the dozen rough men, which proved that these people were not as simple as they looked, but were rough but delicate. Sun Ruhe immediately signaled to the minister Yu Kaiyan with her eyes. The latter understood immediately. While pouring the wine, he introduced himself and asked about the origins of these people, saying, "I am the Minister of War of the Ming dynasty, and I am in charge of the army." The legion commanders of the Wangxi Empire pondered for a moment, and then showed a very refreshing look and began to introduce themselves. The first legion commander of the Wangxi Empire. The second legion commander of the Wangxi Empire. The third legion commander of the Wangxi Empire. Yu Kaiyan. ? He could guess that the other party should also be engaged in leading troops to fight, but he didn't understand what position the legion commander held in the Wangxi Empire, but he felt that the other party was very awesome. A legion commander smiled and explained, "We are divided into legionary areas and each performs its duties, and coordinate with each other during war." After saying this, the ministers of the Ming dynasty understood. It seems that they are just generals with real power. Yu Kaiyan of the Ming dynasty's eyes suddenly lit up. They were from the same family. It turned out that they were all engaged in the same field and had a common language. What do generals talk about when they meet? Of course, they talk about how to fight. He intended to learn from the legion commanders of the Wangxi Empire in the outer world how to lead troops to fight. And Sun Ruhe also intended to do so, and showed the skills of the Ming dynasty to make the other party look up to him. So she raised her eyebrows and smiled, "Yu Kaiyan, since both sides are engaged in important positions of leading troops to fight, why not discuss with each other? The opportunity to win glory for the Ming dynasty is here. Yu Kaiyan will definitely use his knowledge to defeat the other party and win glory for the Ming dynasty." Beautiful. She never thought that Yu Kaiyan would lose, never. Although Yu Kaiyan is a bit reckless at ordinary times, he is also a good hand at leading troops to fight. He can talk about all kinds of illusions. Now, can't we just use some classic battle tactics like burning our boats, making a concerted effort, and surrounding and attacking the reinforcements to easily defeat the enemy tactically? Chapter 277. All wilted. Sun Ruhe seemed to have seen the scene where Yu Kaiyan could make the other party speechless with just a few words. And at the time, it would finally be realized that the Ming dynasty would gain more weight for its own interests, and these people would not underestimate the Ming dynasty. Yu Kaiyan will win. Sun Ruhe is full of confidence in Yu Kaiyan. Blind confidence. This is the endless confidence given to her by the foundation of the Ming dynasty. Perhaps the comprehensive strength of the Ming dynasty is not as strong as that of the Tianhua Wangxi Empire, but the Ming dynasty has a unique advantage, that is, it is full of talents. Just ask these people from outside the sky if they're afraid. Yu Kaiyan arched his hands, with a confident face, and said, "Since the Queen Mother has an order, please teach me, friends from outside the sky." I dare not. A group of legion commanders looked calm, but they were actually laughing in their hearts. This is the natives who came to abuse themselves. Everyone has undergone standard and systematic learning. Would they be afraid of a minister of the Ministry of War in the farming era? The other party knows what information warfare is. Three-dimensional offensive and defensive warfare. Diversified strikes by land, sea and air. Yu Kaiyan cupped his hands and said confidently, "I am not very knowledgeable, but I always believe that a general should be loyal and dedicated, loyal to the king, and fulfill orders." The Ming dynasty applauded. Good. Yu Kaiyan's word fully reflected the spirit of the Ming dynasty's soldiers. Countless people are proud of it. This sentence is absolutely amazing, invincible. The atmosphere immediately came up, and the originally unfamiliar atmosphere between the two sides gradually became familiar. Liang Shizthong agreed and added, "What you said is only part of it. In fact, soldiers should obey orders as their first duty. The people and the empire are above everything else. For example, our predecessor, the People's Liberation Army, is the people's soldiers and the sword to defend national sovereignty. The Ming dynasty was withered. What Yu Qian said was at best a reflection of the spirit of the soldiers, but the other party summarized the profession of the soldier in one sentence. Yu Qian was quite unconvinced, but he regained his fighting spirit. He regrouped and took tactics as the core and took overall control. Because this is the art of war taught to him by his mentor, there is no reason to lose, never. Excuse me, sir, if you use our weapons, and the enemy is 10 times more powerful than us, and they slowly approach with a defensive formation, how should we fight this battle? Many corps commanders were speechless. How to fight? According to the past, everyone would first use the superior artillery fire to cover, then send out bombers, and finally the land aviation formation cooperates with tanks to push forward. What else can we do? But I thought of what Yu Qian said before, that is, to use their weapons. Haha, in this case, let's use the guerrilla warfare summarized by our ancestors. But it was just these few short seconds that made the dignitaries of the Ming dynasty misunderstand, thinking that these people from outer space had no way out, and suddenly their fighting spirits were high. Yu Qian is worthy at being the Minister of War, and he actually has such a strategy to defeat the enemy. It's amazing. He won glory for the Ming dynasty. In the end, it was Liu Yong, the commander of the First Corps, who ended this farce and said, "If the enemy advances, we retreat. If the enemy stays, we harass. If the enemy is tired, we attack. If the enemy retreats, we chase." The Ming dynasty was all wilted again. Now, a banquet has completely turned into a show-off event, a large-scale event for the Ming dynasty and the Wangzi Empire to show off to each other. There is no doubt that the Ming dynasty is really inferior to others. Liu Yong looked at the dejected Yu Qian and smiled. The military of our world has reached an unprecedented height, and tactics have evolved with the development of the times. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Many people in the Ming dynasty were confused. Yu Qian generously and straightforwardly admitted, "It is my Ming dynasty that lost. Losing is losing. It is really shameful to refuse to admit it. Your war is a long sword and a long spear, and ours." Liu Yong paused halfway through his speech, glanced behind him, and said, "God, did you bring the things? I brought them. Fix them and show our friends in the Ming dynasty what our war is like." Many people in the Ming dynasty looked at Liu Yong's guards in confusion. He insisted on having the hall covered with black cloth, and then after the hall was dark, the guard took out the notebook and the projector and started to debug. "What is that?" Many people asked in confusion, attracted by the notebook. It was a very novel object. Notebooks are mainly used for business, entertainment, calculations, learning, etc. The guard smiled. For some reason, seeing these dignitaries of the Ming dynasty asking questions like a group of curious babies, he felt an indescribable sense of accomplishment. The officials of the Ming dynasty nodded as if they understood. Even if they didn't understand, they had to pretend to understand and pretend that it was a small matter. They must not embarrass the Ming dynasty again. Although they thought so, the next scene still shocked everyone in the Ming dynasty. The person was put into the wall. It must be a witchcraft. Unbelievable. There was an uproar in the hall. They didn't know anything about the projector, but when they saw people appearing on the wall, they all started to speak incoherently. The guard explained, "This is a record. We used the products of technology to record the scene at the time, and what is being played now is the scene at the time." The queen mother of the Ming dynasty, Sun Ruwei, was shocked and said, "It's unbelievable." Before they could express too much, these people were all attracted by the projector. Because from some scattered pictures, they seemed to see a world outside the sky. There were also people, but that world seemed to have an unknown and powerful atmosphere. These dignitaries of the Ming dynasty could not understand all the products of that world at all. At this time, the projector screen turned. The guard said, "This is a war that happened in another world in our Wangzi Empire." In the projection, a group of dense bombers covered the sky, and the humming sound of breaking through the air was like the call of the god of death. In the end, they dropped one high explosive bomb after another. The bombers flew away, and the ground began to explode. Such a earth-shaking picture directly made the people of the Ming dynasty feel cold. The scene turned to the armored division of the First Corps. Hundreds of tanks roared past, and thugs flew behind them. Boom boom shells were fired one by one, causing a dense explosion in the distance. Then, nearly 1,000 warships of all sizes sailed in the sea, breaking through the waves, and the shocking scene was self-evident. At this time, the Ming dynasty fell into an extremely quiet atmosphere. Everyone was like a fool, looking at every picture in the projector with a dull face. The queen mother of the Ming dynasty, Sun Rui, hesitated for a long time before muttering, "So this is the real war." Others nodded wildly. Apart from anything else, with this kind of military power, the Wang's empire outside the sky can brush all the territories of the huge Ming dynasty from beginning to end in one day. Real sea, land and air. Everyone yearns for it. The guard smiled and said, "This is a war, so our tactics against you have become history." Sun Rui asked a concerned question. "You're already so powerful, is the outer space of the universe the territory of the Wang's empire?" After asking this question, the Wang's empire showed a rare regretful look. Li Yong, the commander of the First Army, said, "No, we have just started. There are many countries in our world that are not worse than us, and the universe is what you call the outer space of the universe. There are many forces that are more powerful than us." The dignitaries of the Ming dynasty almost spoke at the same time in disbelief. "What, you are so powerful, there are still forces that are more powerful than you?" Li Yong said, "Guard." Yes. The guard broadcasted several disasters that the Blue Star had experienced one after another. The disaster of the Alien Alliance. The disaster of the Mimic Aliens. The disaster of the alien spacecraft. In the face of the war between the races in the universe, the war between humans seems insignificant. The next scene directly made the Queen Mother Sun Rui of the Ming dynasty lose her previous elegance and grace. She swallowed her saliva, subconsciously put her legs together, and was terrified. What a big, strong monster. Sun Rui was shocked. Such a terrifying scene was reflected in her mind for a long time. Oh my god. What a big monster. The things the monster sprayed were even more terrifying. Every time it sprayed, Sun Rui seemed to feel the same and couldn't help but shudder. At this moment, all the dignitaries of the Ming dynasty were collectively terrified. What monsters are these? The monsters have been destroyed by us. The picture turned again, showing the battle between Mechas and monsters. As the picture changed, it became a collision between Mechas and Mechas. What a powerful steel giant, it actually broke a country in half in one go, and it can fly. That's a mecha. The people of the Ming dynasty stopped talking, and didn't care why the mecha was not called a steel giant. In short, they were attracted by the battle between the two Mechas in the sky. The red mecha that blew up a country in one go was obviously in the same group as the monster, and the white mecha fighting it was stronger. In the end, they saw two Mechas emitting colorful lights in the sky and fighting. Even through the screen, one could feel a breath of despair coming at them. You know, a mecha had just emitted colorful rays of light and split a country in half. In this fight, wouldn't it be a matter of who would win? The dignitaries of the Ming dynasty opened their eyes wide, held their breath, and waited for the final answer. In the end, the monster also joined the battle, and two other Mechas also joined the battle, but in the end, they were still defeated by the mysterious mecha that turned from white to gold. Is this steel giant mecha also from the Wang's empire? The Queen Mother of the Ming dynasty, Sun Rui, asked the guard, and everyone else cast their eyes on the guard. Right now, if they don't know the answer, it may become the biggest obstacle in their lives. The guard said, "You'll know when you watch it." As the screen played, the Mechas that decided the winner opened their cockpits and stood up from them. Everyone in the Ming dynasty opened their eyes wide, and their mouths turned directly into a knot shape. It turned out to be him. What exactly was the conversation? The projector did not show any sound, but it showed Lin Chen's appearance, letting everyone in the Ming dynasty know who he was. Then everyone looked at Lin Chen at the same time. Lin Chen seemed to have sensed it, stopped whispering with Jiangshi, turned his head suspiciously, and hummed incomprehensible. Chapter 278 The Beautiful Lady. All the dignitaries of the Ming dynasty. The other party still hid such an unreliable smile. Is the person who fought the enemy in the sky really him? Not like him. Everyone can feel the blood rushing just by watching the battle of the steel giant, but now suddenly telling them that the steel giant is driven by Lin Chen, they feel very unbelievable. After a long time, when the projector finished playing, the guard said, "This is a war." The people of the Ming dynasty withdrew their eyes with some reluctance. What they just saw brought a great shock. The Queen Mother of the Ming dynasty, Sun Rui, said with some doubts, "Your world is so dangerous." Jiangshi said, "It's not our world that is dangerous, but this universe is dangerous. Just like us now, you and I are all human beings, and there are also other races. This is a collision between civilizations." The scene fell into a strange silence. The people of the Ming dynasty couldn't help but wonder, The war in the outer world is so fierce. What should we do if this kind of war comes to the Ming dynasty? Do the people of the Ming dynasty have to stack the monsters with long swords and spears? Fear is spreading. This just made the Ming kingdom more determined to make friends with the Wangzi Empire, and it was a deep friendship, preferably a diplomatic relationship like brothers. Finally, the banquet was over. The official purpose began. The cabinet of the Ming kingdom officially began negotiations with Jiangxi. At first, the Wangzi Empire was unwilling to establish diplomatic relations with the Ming kingdom because the benefits were pitifully small for the empire. Everyone in the Ming kingdom present looked depressed, but Sun Rui gritted his teeth and said, "Come on, bring up that gift prepared by the Ming kingdom for friends." Clapped his hands. Some guards carrying boxes immediately walked into the palace. The head of the guard announced loudly, "A knight shining pearl." A knight shining pearl as big as a basketball was displayed, and everyone in the Wangzi Empire opened their eyes wide, their faces full of disbelief. It seems that they have underestimated the value of this planet. Such a big knight shining pearl, not to mention the Azure star, even the Kepler planet definitely does not have it. 3 wild Ganoderma lucidum that are 3,000 years old. Everyone in the Wangzi Empire took a breath of cold air. Yes, the medicinal value of Ganoderma lucidum is enough to make it selected as a precious medicinal material, which is why it has many auspicious meanings. And you can imagine how valuable a 3,000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum is. It is a priceless treasure. Jiangxi didn't understand why there was Ganoderma lucidum on this planet, but she didn't care about much. She looked excited and her tone began to tremble slightly. She asked, "Are there other precious medicinal materials?" Many people understood why Jiangxi was so out of control. Lin Chen grabbed her right hand. Many dignitaries of the Ming dynasty were also surprised by Jiangxi's loss of composure, and then they all smiled and looked relaxed. It seems that the premise of diplomatic relations is the precious medicinal materials that the other party does not have. With this thought, these ministers of the Ming dynasty all spoke passionately and suggested taking out the treasures of the Ming dynasty. "Queen Mother, I remember that the local government offered the 1,000-year-old Ginseng King 2 years ago. Now it's time to take it out and give it to the friendly country. Yes, I remember that there is saffron in the Deming treasury, which should also be taken out. And amber grease." The ministers were excited. They wanted to move the Deming treasury out for the people of the Wangzi Empire to choose from. Because they knew that once the Deming Kingdom established friendly diplomatic relations with the Wangzi Empire and conducted trade, the benefit would be absolutely incalculable. Queen Mother Sun Rui's face was unnatural. These people actually, she also understood why the ministers were excited, so she almost gritted her teeth and said, "Come on, go to the Deming treasury and take out the most precious medicinal materials." Lin Chen and others changed their colors slightly. The feelings of the Deming Kingdom are a treasure mountain. After a while, a group of guards came back again. The chief guard fiddled with the box while listing the years of the medicinal materials, saying, 2 5,000-year-old wild ginseng kings, 5 kilograms of ambergris, etc. Finally, he added, "There is also a 1,000-year-old snow lotus picked from Tianjin in the ice storage. If it is not used, once it is taken out, its value will be destroyed." Jiangxi's pretty face was slightly rosy, and her breathing was also rapid. She said excitedly, "The 3 words Da Ming Kingdom will appear in the list of allies of the Wangzi Empire." The others were also breathing rapidly. Lin Chen knew why they were like this, because the disease of the prospective father-in-law, Jiang Mingjian, was actually not difficult to treat. Unfortunately, what the empire lacked was medicinal materials, especially this kind of wild and aged medicinal materials. Many dignitaries of the Deming Kingdom slapped their thighs excitedly. "Beautiful. It's settled. God will not let down those who work hard." The cabinet of the Deming Kingdom took out the treaty that had been prepared long ago. "We sincerely thank the Wangzi Empire for rescuing the Ming Kingdom. Now we are negotiating for friendly diplomatic relations. The Ming Kingdom will provide security for all people in the Wangzi Empire, and the cost will be paid by the Ming Kingdom. In addition, the Ming Kingdom hopes that the Wangzi Empire will cooperate with the living and trade, but the Ming Kingdom will never allow the Wangzi Empire to sell military supplies to any organization other than official organizations in the Ming Kingdom. In addition, both parties shall not engage in illegal transactions and illegal activities, please remember." The Ming Kingdom announced that they were finished. They urgently needed the supplies of the Wangzi Empire, all supplies. Jiangxi smiled and said, "This is the best negotiation. The benefits brought by conquest are far less than those brought by cooperation, but I think I should wait for my father to come and talk to you in person." The high-level officials of the Min Kingdom were shocked. Jiangxi's father. Then wouldn't it be inevitable to worry? Jiangxi said, he has a complication and comes here to treat with medicinal materials. I understand. We have the best imperial doctors in the Min Kingdom. Queen Mother Sun Rui breathed a sigh of relief, as long as this diplomatic relationship can continue. But this deal is not cheap. According to the rules of both parties, the Wangxi Empire only needs the precious metals they need, such as gold and silver, and will not accept the currency of the Min dynasty. Suddenly, Sun Rui's eyes lit up. After waiting for the supplies of the Wangxi Empire, the Min dynasty can completely conquer the world. By then, won't you be afraid that there will be no things they need? After the two sides finally reached an agreement, the banquet ended, and the smiles on the faces of those legion commanders became more obvious, with a smirk on their faces. In this case, the legion commander shouted, "We are going to see Zhu Qixin, the god of war of the Min dynasty. The people of the Min dynasty, Sun Rui, arrange to meet him immediately, and serve this group of masters comfortably, as long as you don't do something difficult." Lin Chen did not have the elegance of those legion commanders. After leaving the palace of the Min dynasty, he and Jiangxi went out for a rare stroll and experienced the customs of the other world. At this time, Jiangxi had changed into a set of clothes for women of the Min dynasty. After changing into a different kind of clothes, she had undergone a radical change. Lin Chen almost didn't recognize her. She used to be very graceful and confident, but now, she showed a kind of classical beauty, graceful and elegant. Jiangxi smiled and said, "This is the second time we've gone out shopping." Lin Chen nodded, "Yes, the last time was in Xiangling City." Jiangxi seemed to be reminding something intentionally. "The world is at peace, shouldn't you?" "There is no peace, our situation is still very dangerous. In a few hundred years, the human race in the entire universe will be extinct." "Don't try to fool me with this. A few hundred years, can you tell fortunes? Didn't I say that I traveled to the future and saw a fragmented picture, and the human race is gone?" Jiangxi's face showed an obvious expression as if to say you were fooling a ghost. The two of them walked around, and stopped all the way in the most prosperous stage of Yanjing City in the Min dynasty, and finally entered a restaurant. But neither of them noticed that they were being stared at by a few lackeys. Seeing two fat sheep from other places enter the restaurant, these lackeys immediately ran back and reported to their master as if to seek credit. A group of lackeys immediately ran back to a luxurious mansion and shouted, "Uncle, we found a young lady. She is so pretty, even more beautiful than the 19th madam." "Where is the pretty young lady?" A fat man with shining eyes and gorgeous clothes immediately ran out of the mansion. "She just entered the Beijing restaurant, but there is a man with her." "What does the young lady look like?" The lackey flattered. "She is as beautiful as a fairy. In terms of beauty, more than a dozen ladies are not as good as her." An imperceptible smile flashed across the face of the uncle of the Min dynasty. "Ha ha, a beautiful young lady. In that case." The uncle of the Min dynasty smiled confidently. "Go to the government office and say that there is a wanted criminal of the Min dynasty in the Beijing restaurant. 1 chapter today, and it will be released tomorrow. As for how many chapters can be released, it is estimated that it will not be less than 5 chapters. Chapter 279. Look at what you have done." The lackeys were all confused. The uncle laughed and scolded, "A bunch of idiots, let the government arrest people, only I can save people, so won't the young lady finally giving?" "Uncle, you were great." A group of lackeys immediately offered sincere flattery. After discussing the plan, these people began to act separately. Some went to report to the prefect in the capital, while the uncle of the Min dynasty was full of confidence and set off first to see the rare young lady. After a while, they arrived at the restaurant where Lin Chen and the others were. At just one glance, the fat uncle was deeply conquered by Jiangxi's charm. It can be said that the other party's words and smiles were firmly holding his mind. A lackey asked, "How about the young lady of the uncle?" The fat uncle nodded and swallowed his saliva. He had only one thought in his mind, that he must get that woman. No matter what the other party's origin, identity, or background is, as long as it is a young lady that he likes, in the end, he will definitely take a bath and wait for his favor in bed, because in the Min dynasty, he is the sky of the law. The impulse in his heart is unbearable. The fat man slowly approached Jiangxi as if he was possessed, and stretched out a pair of fat hands. When he was less than 2 meters away from Jiangxi, Lin Chen slowly raised his head and said, "Get lost." Jiangxi was stunned for a moment, frowned slightly and turned her head, and then directly picked up the pistol on the table, because the smile behind him was so familiar. "I don't know who you two are." This time it was Jiangxia who spoke unkindly. Get lost. The young lady is so angry, but I like it, because I am the uncle of the Ming dynasty, the younger brother of the current Empress Dowager. The fat uncle was not annoyed, and began to introduce himself, because his identity was his greatest reliance. As long as the 3 words uncle of the state were revealed, no matter who came, they would have to be scared in the end. Sorry. The young uncle of the Ming dynasty is so arrogant. At this time, the government officials also arrived. Was it the wanted criminal personally ordered by the uncle? No matter who the other party was, he must be a wanted criminal. The prefect of Yanjing City rushed into the restaurant with 100 soldiers, and the originally lively atmosphere suddenly dropped to freezing point. The government is arresting a wanted criminal, a man and a woman. All outsiders, please leave immediately. With a crash, the restaurant, which was busy with business, became deserted, and diners fled away one after another. The fat uncle of the country also smiled and shouted, "The wanted criminals are here. They have been held by the uncle. Someone take these 2 wanted criminals away and torture them to see if they have accomplices." It turned out to be the uncle of the country. The prefect in court clothes immediately greeted him with a smile. After a show of acting, the soldiers also surrounded Lin Chen and Jiangxia. Lin Chen and Jiangxia stared at each other. A soldier said with a smile, "You 2 should follow us to the prison." As he said that, the group of officers and soldiers drew their swords. Clang for a while, the flashes of swords and sabers continued, and they were all aimed at Lin Chen and the others. If everyone didn't understand the trick at the moment, they would have put the swords on their necks. Bang! Lin Chen raised the pistol in his hand that was emitting wisps of green smoke, and a soldier lay on the ground with a bloody hole in his forehead. The soldiers were horrified. Everyone be careful, these 2 people know witchcraft. A companion died just like that. Bang bang bang, a series of gunshots rang out. Most of the soldiers died, and for a while no one dared to step forward, looking at Lin Chen and the others warily. The fat uncle was so scared that he sat on the ground, and there was a faint dampness in his crotch. At this time, a team of Jinhai who had just come out of the palace passed by on the street. Hearing the strange sound, they immediately went into the restaurant to check. As soon as they entered the door, the team of Jinhai was immediately horrified. "That's not good, brothers, grab your weapons." The 2 sides had just decided to make a diplomatic truce in the morning, and they had a dispute in the afternoon. The most fatal issue was the identity issue of both sides. The young uncle of the Ming dynasty and the eldest princess from the outer world were confronting each other. If this is not handled well, it will not be as simple as losing your head, but the execution of 9 clans. After a while, Lin Chen and Jiangxia left the restaurant, because the Jinhai of the Ming dynasty and the soldiers of the Ming dynasty were confronting each other, and the fight inside was very lively. Jiangxia suddenly caught the golden light in the sky that was fading from light to light, and asked in surprise. "That is," Lin Chen said, "the space transmission of the test machine." At night, the palace of the Ming dynasty was extremely prosperous, and it seemed that only in this way could the noble status of the royal family be demonstrated. Zhu Qixin, the god of war of the Ming dynasty, was very unhappy. He was very depressed about losing the throne, but today the group of people from the outer world suddenly came and found him with a small glowing box in their hands. He actually said that he was the god of war of the Ming dynasty. Damn. Zhu Qixin clenched his fists in annoyance. This was a great shame. People outside the world knew about his deeds. Wouldn't his reputation be so bad that it would be stinking outside the world? No, this is a good thing. On second thought, he felt that this was a good thing. Because he had attracted the interest of people outside the world, he instantly became confident. In this world, who else can attract people outside the world except himself? Just ask who else. It seems that my strength does not allow me to be low-key anymore. It seems that I have found the value of my own existence, and an obvious smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. At the same time, it also attracted the attention of the Queen Mother Sunrui, who asked, "What are you laughing at?" The god of war Zhu Qixin of the Ming dynasty smiled confidently. "Next year I will recruit 1 million soldiers to send heads, and my name Zhu Qixin will spread throughout the world." Sunrui and Zhu Kaiyu, the current emperor of the Ming dynasty. After a while, the unit notified the uncle of the country and the prefect of Yanjing City. Sunrui was surprised, Zhu Qixin was surprised, and Zhu Kaiyu was surprised. Then 2 people, 1 fact and 1 thing, appeared in a panic. On weekdays, they didn't care about the government affairs at all, and rarely went to the palace, but today's disturbance was too big. So the evil ones complained first. The fat uncle wailed, "Queen Dowager, the Jinhui deliberately injured the soldiers of Yanjing City of the government for 2 wanted criminals, and also beat several of my servants to death." Sun Rui was shocked, and then her face showed anger. "These Jinhui are really bold. Tell me, who are those Jinhui? It's a team of Jinhui who changed shifts from the palace in the afternoon." Sun Rui was furious. "Come here, arrest all the Jinhui who changed shifts in the afternoon." About an hour later, a group of guards escorted a team of Jinhui to the hall, ready to be interrogated. Queen Dowager Sun Rui sat in the hall, majestic, and said in a deep voice, "Do you know your crime?" As soon as the Jinhui saw the uncle and the prefect of Beijing, they immediately understood the whole story. It turned out that the villain was the first to complain. "The Queen Mother is like this." The head of the Jinhui recounted what happened today in detail. The more Sun Rui listened, the gloomier her face became, and finally her chest began to rise and fall violently. But the fat uncle was full of confidence. Even if the truth came out in the end and it was clarified that it was a misunderstanding, he could make these Jinhui pay for it, because he was the uncle of the king of the Ming dynasty and a rampant existence. Could it be that the Queen Mother of the Ming dynasty would punish her own brother for 2 people, a man and a woman? She would only clean up her own ass, find the man and the woman, and then kill them with these Jinhui. It's just a pity. Lost the opportunity to get close to the young lady. The fat uncle felt a pity in his heart, and the thought of the beautiful young lady was like 100 claws on his heart. However, when the head of the Jinhui finished his story, the Queen Mother of the Ming dynasty, Sun Rui, was almost suffocated by anger. She took a long while to calm down, took the cup on the table and threw it directly at the fat uncle, and almost roared, "Look at what you have done." With a crack, the cup hit the fat uncle's head and fell to the ground and broke. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 280. This uncle of the emperor almost ruined the Ming dynasty. The fat uncle seemed to be a little unresponsive to what had happened. Why would the Queen Mother of the Ming dynasty, his own sister, direct her anger at him? He could only kneel on the ground with a dull face, letting the tea flow down from his forehead. Why? The fat uncle's heart suddenly tightened in his throat. The Queen Mother Sun Rui still maintained the posture of throwing the cup, breathing heavily, and her body was shaking with anger at her stupid brother. After a long time, he said angrily, "How can this be justified?" The prefect of Yanjing City immediately wiped the tea stains on the forehead of the fat uncle with his sleeve, turned his head and asked, "Queen Mother, what did we do wrong? Isn't it that the man and the woman don't need to vent their anger on the uncle like this?" The Queen Mother was furious. "You still don't understand?" She couldn't help but think of the most dangerous thing in the Ming dynasty, which was also that thing that the Ming dynasty was most unwilling to happen. The leader of the Jinhui said so much, and the brothers Zhuqi's and Zhuqiu also understood. It seems that the uncle of the king has set his sights on the eldest princess of the Wangzi Empire and her fiancé, falsely accusing the other party of being a wanted criminal of the Ming dynasty. The two sides had a dispute, and finally Jinhui appeared to save the Ming dynasty. Sun Rui covered her forehead with her right hand, looking tired, and her voice changed. Without the previous majesty, she whispered hoarsely, "I didn't expect that the two sides had just signed a treaty of friendly diplomatic relations, and we would violate it." Coveting beauty, he was suspected of falsely accusing the eldest princess of the Wangzi Empire and the young man named Lin Chen. This did not cause a big mistake. If the false accusation was really successful, and his brother had committed a big mistake against the eldest princess, would there still be the Ming dynasty in the world? Zhuqi's said. Using this as an excuse to launch an attack is one of the usual tactics of military strategists. It is hard to say that they will not adopt the same tactics. Sun Rui said. "In this case, we will be the next to be destroyed." But this time the Jinhui showed up in time, which is a blessing in disguise. Now let's sincerely apologize to the other party. Do you want this Queen Mother to bow her head and admit her mistakes to them? Do you want to go to war with them? Sun Rui's body suddenly stiffened. Yes. Not only is she the Queen Mother of the Ming dynasty who controls the government, but she is also that Queen Mother's biological sister. Isn't it herself who should bow her head and admit her mistakes to the other party? Sun Rui said angrily to the uncle and the prefect. "You two almost became the eternal sinners of the Ming dynasty. You falsely accuse the eldest princess and her Fuan, who are guaranteed to have diplomatic relations with the Wangxian Empire. They have military power that can destroy the Ming dynasty within a day, especially the latter. After speaking, he paused. The former is certainly important to the Wangxian Empire. After all, she is a princess of a country, but the power held by the latter. His defeated generals all have the strength to split a country in half with one move. Later, Sun Ruwei sighed and said, if you use this as an excuse to provoke a war, what will happen to the Ming dynasty? You two should understand it without me saying it. At this time, the fat uncle and the prefect of Yanjing City knelt on the ground and were directly stupid. This time it seems that it should be a big deal. Coveting the beauty of the eldest princess of the Wangxian Empire. It doesn't seem that the Queen Mother is exaggerating. The other party destroyed the Ming dynasty within one day. Isn't this pushing himself into the abyss? The fat uncle was almost scared to tears, and kept kowtowing to admit his mistakes, crying, Queen Mother, you must save me, I don't want to die yet, I still have 19 wives at home, I haven't lived enough. What is rampant in the Ming dynasty? What is the sky law of the Ming dynasty? It's all bullshit. After provoking a force that even the Ming dynasty couldn't afford to offend, what was the use of his status as an uncle of the emperor? Sun Ruwei stared at the two culprits who were frightened below, and finally softened her heart inside. This matter must be resolved. Tomorrow I will take you two to admit your mistakes. As for whether the other party will forgive you, it depends on your luck. The fat uncle of the emperor and the prefect of Yanjing just breathed a sigh of relief. With the Queen Mother taking them to admit their mistakes, they thought their lives were saved. However, because the Jinyu Wei was arrested at night, it had already caused a lot of trouble in the city. Such a big event had long attracted the attention of many ministers of the Ming dynasty. Spend money to find out the whole story. The ministers were all horrified. Isn't this damn fat uncle pushing the Ming dynasty into the fire pit? So, the ministers of the Ming dynasty gathered in the palace without prior agreement, kneeling outside the hall, and there were more than 100 people. They were determined and faced the palace. I implore the Queen Mother to order the arrest of the emperor's uncle and execute him immediately. I implore the Queen Mother to consider the Ming dynasty and kill her relatives for the sake of justice. The emperor's uncle is unjust and he disregards the life and death of the Ming dynasty and should be executed immediately. If the Queen Mother does not agree, the Ministry of War will have no choice but to use military demonstration for the sake of the Ming dynasty. The ministers outside the palace were indignant. For the sake of the Ming dynasty, they had no choice but to resort to this last resort. There was no other way, because the fat uncle was so bold that he actually set his sights on the eldest princess of the Wangxian Empire. They really didn't know how to write the word death. These people had witnessed the war from outer space during the day. If someone used this excuse to start a war, it would be the end of the world. So in order to calm the anger of the Wangxian Empire, the fat uncle and the prefect of the capital must die, and even if necessary, the Queen Mother must apologize to the other party and accept any rude requests from the other party. The Queen Mother Sun Ruwei was slightly angry. Didn't the group of ministers want to rebel? Didn't they know the relationship between the uncle and herself? She got up and left the palace, scolding many ministers. Don't you want to rebel? Yu Qian was very tough. He knelt on the ground and yelled, Queen Mother, have you forgotten that the emperor of the Wangxian Empire, Jingmin Jiwan, is about to come to my Ming dynasty for treatment? If he comes and the problem is not resolved, what should my Ming dynasty do? Have you forgotten how much power is hidden behind the eldest princess's Fiang? If the other party has any grudges in his heart, where can our Ming dynasty hide? Sun Ruwei was stunned. Yu Qian angrily retorted again. So this matter must be made big, but it cannot tarnish the other party's reputation, otherwise what will happen? Do I need to say more? Sun Ruwei stood there with a dull face. She was motionless for a long time like a clay sculpture or wooden statue, but her pupils were shrinking and shrinking, clearly trying her best to hide her fear. In other words, when the emperor of other countries comes and learns that his daughter is coveted by someone for her beauty and has taken action, he is very likely to take action, or his Fian will. Thinking deeply, Sun Ruwei felt that she had fallen into endless darkness. Soon her thoughts were pulled back to reality. A firm look flashed across her face, and she scolded. Come on, tie up the uncle and the prefect for me, and take them to Wangxian outside the city tomorrow. Wangxian, Yu Qian reminded in a low voice. Wangxian Empire Space Force. Sun Ruwei said righteously. Take them to the station of the Wangxian Empire Space Force and behead them to make amends. The Queen Mother has issued an order. A group of guards immediately tied up the fat uncle and the prefect. The prefect of Yanjing City was so scared that his face turned pale, and he knelt on the ground motionless with despair in his heart. The fat uncle was panicked. He was the uncle of the Min dynasty. He still had a lot of life to experience and a lot of beauties to enjoy. Chapter 281. Immediate execution. But he was going to be beheaded. His crotch began to emanate a foul smell, and he shouted in fear. "Sister, you can't do this to me, I'm your own brother, you must save me." Sun Ruwei gritted her teeth and said, "You almost ruined the Min dynasty, no one can save you. The real strength of the Wangxi Empire, let alone the Ming dynasty, even 10 Ming dynasties are not enough for the Wangxi Empire. This idiot has no idea what kind of power he has offended. He directly offended the eldest princess and her fiancé." The next day, the camp of the Wangxi Empire fleet became restless early in the morning. Many people came towards it. There were dignitaries of the Ming dynasty, and there were also people of the Ming dynasty. And the 2 prison cars led by them imprisoned the fat uncle and the prefect. Many people in Yanjing City did not dare to go up to thousands, and could only look at it from a distance. The dignitaries of the Ming dynasty directly entered the camp of the Wangxi Empire fleet. Sun Ruwei put herself in an extremely low position and asked, "Excuse me, are Miss Jing and Master Lin here?" A soldier asked, "Yes, they are having breakfast. Is there anything?" Sun Ruwei said, "Yesterday, the young uncle of the Emperor of the Ming dynasty and an official offended them. In order to clarify that this was a misunderstanding, our Ming dynasty specially brought the culprit." The Wangxian soldier showed a solemn face and immediately went to invite Lin Chen and Jiangshi. After a while, Lin Chen and Jiangshi came out of the spaceship. Sun Ruwei smiled and said, "I'm sorry, everything is the fault of the Ming dynasty." Lin Chen and the others looked in the direction of each other's fingers and found the 2 people who deliberately made things difficult yesterday. "Who is the uncle of the Emperor in the Ming dynasty?" "He is my brother. I'm sorry to trouble you." Sun Ruwei waved her hand without waiting for Lin Chen and the others to react. The 2 executioners directly pulled the fat uncle of the Emperor and the prefect out of the prison car and pressed them to the ground. The fat uncle of the Emperor struggled, and the cloth in his mouth could only make a woohoo sound. He was so scared that he urinated again. If he had slept with that beauty for one night, it would be worth dying, but he didn't even touch her hand. "This death is too unfair," Minister Yu Qian announced. "According to the law, those who destroy diplomatic relations are considered to be felons and will be executed immediately." The executioner raised his knife and fell. The 2 heads rolled to the ground, and they died with their eyes open. The whole process was extremely short, so short that Lin Chen and Jiangshi didn't react, and they just killed them. Looking at the 2 heads on the ground, Lin Chen was fine. After all, he had been fighting for a long time, and his heart had long been numb to the bloody scene, but Jiangshi was different. She was okay with killing people, but this person's death was a head fallen to the ground. Ugh, she vomited directly. Queen Mother Sun Ruwei held back her anger and smiled. "Can you 2 calm down? This matter is wrong for our Ming dynasty, so we will definitely punish anyone who is involved." This was the result of a night of discussion within the Ming dynasty. Anyway, the person was killed. If they continue to hold on to this matter, it will seem that the Wangxi Empire is too unreasonable. This, Jiangshi was incredulous. In fact, there was something she didn't dare to say. In fact, she wanted to say that chemical castration would be enough. Just killing the person directly was too speechless. Afterwards, Queen Mother Sun Ruwei finally breathed a sigh of relief, because the other party had calmed down and said that he would not take the unpleasant things that happened yesterday to heart. "Thank you so much." Sun Ruwei expressed her gratitude. Lin Chen said, "You're welcome. By the way, you gave us a very valuable gift yesterday, and I also prepared a gift for you." Really?" Sun Ruwei widened her eyes and showed joy. "A gift from the Wangxi Empire? That is a rare thing, absolutely not in the Ming dynasty, it is unique. As for the death of her brother, she has completely forgotten it." Jiangshi gave her a diamond watch, which was even able to reflect bursts of soft light. This watch is definitely expensive even on the Azure Star, so it can barely be called a priceless treasure in the Ming dynasty. Later, she taught Sun Ruwei how to use it. This watch is really amazing." Sun Ruwei couldn't express her excitement when she looked at her wrist. Such a beautiful thing is practical and can also show one's temperament. If she chose a watch to check the time during court affairs in the future, wouldn't it be more able to show the majesty of the royal family? "Brother, you are worth dying for. This watch is so beautiful. It sets off my temperament. In this case." Sunrui's eyes lit up, and she thought of a wonderful idea. Show off. She folded her sleeves and deliberately exposed the watch. Later, she followed Lin Chen to tour the spaceship, which was even more novel. When she heard the plan of Lin Chen and others, she was shocked. Hesitantly said, "Are you going to the outer space?" Investigation, actual surveying and mapping of the star map of the nearby star field should be back soon. Intuition told Sunrui that this was an opportunity to gain experience. Although it is said that once you follow the other party on the spaceship, your life safety is in the hands of the other party, but don't forget that if the Wang's Empire wants to harm the Ming Dynasty, the Ming Dynasty has no way to stop it, because its strength does not allow it. Sunrui asked, "Can my ministers and I follow to see what the outer space looks like?" Jiangshi pondered for a long time and agreed on behalf of Lin Chen. Soon, a group of ministers from the Ming Dynasty impatiently boarded the spaceship. With a whoosh, the 2 Millennium Falcons turned into 2 streams of light and flew out of the sky. Along the way, Sunrui and many ministers really broadened their horizons. It turns out that the spaceship can really fly, especially when looking down at the entire land. If they hadn't tried their best to hold back, they would have shouted out their excitement. In a very short time, the 2 Millennium Falcons flew into space. A minister said in astonishment, "Queen Mother, the scenery outside has changed. Why so fast? What came into view was the magnificent and boundless universe." Shocked. Everyone was shocked. The spacecraft has now entered space, also known as the universe, or what you call the outer world. Lin Chen said. The spacecraft was silent. Except for the workers who were mapping the star map with pen and paper, there was no other sound. The dignitaries of the Ming Dynasty were attracted by the charm of the universe and were obsessed with it. The mouth of the Queen Mother of the Ming Dynasty, Sunrui, had turned into a knot shape, as if her worldview had been severely impacted. So this is what the outer world is like. Sunrui looked a little dazed, and murmured, "Oh my god, how big is the outer world? Why do I see so many colorful balls?" Chapter 282. Tenfold tonic soup. Lin Chen said, "Yes, the nearest big ball is your world." The dignitaries of the Ming Dynasty. "It's a bit difficult to be direct. The Great Ming Dynasty is actually in a ball." Sunrui retorted, "Impossible, how could we be in a ball?" Lin Chen glanced at the other party, and without much explanation, he said, "That's the fact, whether you believe it or not." After saying this, he turned and left. Only the dignitaries of the Ming Dynasty were left with astonishment. Sunrui said with a dull face, "Then is the big ball really our world?" A minister said, "Anyway, we have reached the outer space, and it is very likely that the big ball is our world." Sunrui was silent for a while, and suddenly said, "If this is the case, the Ming Dynasty made the right bet. At least it did not blindly go toward the Wang's Empire." After a while, the surveying of the star map was over, and the Millennium Falcon took the people of the Ming Dynasty back to their planet. After getting off the spaceship, everyone had a strong look of disbelief on their faces. It turns out that the so-called outer space is a dark and boundless space. It turns out that their world is in a ball. Everyone took a long time to calm down. Sunrui glanced at the expressions of many ministers, smiled slightly, raised her wrist and glanced, and said, "It turns out that 2 hours have passed. It's really fast." The voice was a little louder than before, as if she wanted to express something. After all, this watch is unique to the Ming Dynasty. This masterpiece of divine work can show the majesty of the royal family. Yu Kaiyan also looked at his wrist and smiled. "Yes, it turns out that so much time has passed. It's unbelievable." A minister was even more straightforward. He raised his wrist and said to Yu Kaiyan, "Master Yu, my time seems to be a few minutes slower than yours. How do I adjust it?" A group of people lit up their watches, almost everyone had one. Sunrui. My mentality collapsed immediately. But on second thought, it didn't matter, because their watches were not as good looking as mine. A few days later, another spaceship entered the Ming Dynasty from space. And in the spaceship was Jing Mingjuan, who was about to receive treatment. After some polite exchanges with the Ming Kingdom, the formal recuperation process began. Jingshi fully demonstrated her talent in medicine. In order to treat her father, Jingshi made a legendary medicinal soup that can cure all diseases, the tenfold great tonic soup. Today is the 3rd day that Jingshi has been making medicinal soup. Lin Chen walked into the remodeled pharmacy in a spacesuit. There is a pool in the middle of the pharmacy, which is steaming and spraying white mist up and down. Lin Chen asked, "Is it ready?" Jingshi, who was also wearing a spacesuit, said, "It should be fine tonight." By the evening, the tenfold great tonic soup was finally successful. It took 3 days and countless precious medicinal materials to be boiled into a paste before it was considered a success. Lin Chen almost pinched his nose and asked, "Are you sure you can cure your father? Don't let him die." Jiangshi was full of confidence. According to ancient records, the 10-ingredient decoction is like this. I have read the medical books of 3 worlds and they are all similar, so there is no problem. The greater the effect, the better. Lin Chen hesitated for a while and said, "Okay, I hope your father can make it." After a while, Jiangshi went to call Jiang Minjian. Hearing that the medicine that could cure his complications was ready, he immediately followed Jiangshi to the pharmacy, and many people from the Ming Dynasty and the Wangxi Empire also followed him. When he left, his eyes were full of kindness and pride. Because it is true that a daughter is always a father's little cotton-padded jacket. Because I am proud of Ship, an excellent daughter. This daughter has brought honor to me in front of everyone. Jiang Minjian followed Jiangshi with joy. However, the slap in the face came like a tornado, so fast that Jiang Minjian was caught off guard. As soon as they arrived at the door of the pharmacy, all the people who followed them put on the gas masks that had been prepared long ago, and surrounded Jiang Minjian together. Jiang Minjian. Turning around and entering the door, he was irritated by the strong odor in less than 2 seconds. Jiang Minjian. Ugh, Jiangshi said with a gas mask. That is the tenfold great tonic soup that can treat complications. Ugh, Jiang Minjian seemed to think of that full pool of black paste again, and felt sick and wanted to vomit. Is that the tenfold great tonic soup? It's clearly going to take your life. Damn it, she must still hate herself. Sunrui's voice was a little muffled because she was wearing a gas mask. Legend has it that the tenfold great tonic soup has a strong smell, but all those who have been cured have left their names in history without exception, and they are all people with firm minds. Jiang Minjian nodded seriously. It must be true that the 2 worlds have the same treatment method. He also agreed with Sunrui's words. Because only those with a strong will can survive the strong, suffocating odor. But he seemed to have thought of something and whispered, "Shit, I may not be able to finish the full pool of tenfold tonic soup. Since it is a good thing, call Lin Chen to come with you. How about we drink together as a family?" Everyone. Jiangshi said, "That is soaking. Soaking for 24 hours requires the essence of the liquid medicine to be fully absorbed by the body and deeply absorbed into every bone joint of your body. Only then can it be considered a complete transformation." Jiang Minjian looked sad, turned around, pushed the door and entered the pharmacy in one go. Everyone seemed to see Jiang Minjian rode back like a warrior who cut off his arm and never returned. Ugh, the sound of dry retching continued. 2 days later, Jiang Minjian came out of the pharmacy and was really reborn. His face was rosy again, and he was radiant, and his temperament had changed a lot. In the past, he was like an old man who was lingering on in the world. Now, he is like a young man who was full of energy a few years ago, as if his body was looking for a place to vent with abundant energy. Ha ha ha, it feels so good to recover from a serious illness, so refreshed. Jiang Minjian laughed loudly. After a while, many people came after taking a shower. Knowing that Jiang Minjian's complications were cured, many people breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. Lin Chen hesitated for a long time about the name. Logically, it should be the same name as Jiangshi, but he felt it was inappropriate, and finally thought of a compromise name. He asked, "Uncle, how do you feel?" Jiang Minjian smiled confidently, "Great, I feel that my body is full of endless power, I can kill a cow with one punch." After that, regret appeared on his face again. What a pity. His body is healed, but Queen Jifu is not here, otherwise, she will definitely be able to feel his strength, which will make her excited and unable to get out of bed for 3 days. Lin Chen nodded, turned to look at Sunrui, and said, "Quick, pull the cow over here." Chapter 283. The secret bioengineering of the Jakarta nation. What a pity. Lin Chen's wish was stopped by Jiangshi. Later, after Jiang Minjian recovered, Wangxi Empire and Ming Dynasty officially started diplomatic cooperation. The 2 sides started a real trade relationship. As time went on, a market appeared outside Yanjing City, and the most elite guards of Ming Dynasty, Jiniwei, protected the safety of the market. Lin Chen and Jiangshi walked on the street and said, "It looks lively." Jiangshi said, "At the beginning, it was a trade warehouse, purchased by the Ming Dynasty government. Over time, it has developed into its current scale. People from all over the world gather here. The things brought from our side are very rare, so there is nothing incredible. Lin Chen asked, I heard that Ming Dynasty is going to launch another foreign war. It seems that the Ming Dynasty god of war Zhu Qizhen is fully prepared to plan 1 million troops. Lin Chen was speechless. If it was someone else, he might not feel anything, but it was him again. At night, the system prompt sounded again in Lin Chen's mind. The task has changed. Open the system panel. Host. Lin Chen. Mission 1. Colonize a planet, completed. Please claim the mission. Mission 2. Start a racial war. Fan value. 450 million. Lin Chen clicked to claim the mission without hesitation. Beep. The mission reward battleship technology has been issued. A huge amount of information seeped into Lin Chen's mind. These messages appeared very softly, as if they were born with it. It didn't feel complicated. There was even an illusion that these technologies once belonged to him. Lin Chen said to himself, there is a lot of strange knowledge in my head again. Battleship information. Weapon. Turbo laser cannon. Purpose. Battleship specifications. 3,170 meters in diameter, can carry a large number of combat units, including small spacecraft. Information. One of the important battleships, a flat ring with a stern engine, a docking claw at the front, and a huge detachable sphere at the center of the ring. The battleship can be easily distinguished from ordinary battleships by the clusters of transmitting and receiving antenna arrays on its top. These arrays are used to transmit signals. Whether it is a mobile phone, a computer, or a positioning, signals can be transmitted from the planetary orbit to execute commands and actions. After feeling the message, Lin Chen said, it's similar to the role of an aircraft carrier, but why are the rewards starting to tilt towards the universe? 5 days later, a banquet was held in the palace of the Ming Kingdom. At the banquet, Jiang Mingjian told the itinerary and said that he would leave the Ming Kingdom tomorrow, leaving only 2 cargo ships, the Millennium Falcon, for trading. Everyone on the Ming Kingdom side was shocked. He had just seen the roll of trade from the Wang's Empire, but the other side was ready to leave. Jiang Mingjian smiled and said, don't worry, everyone, we have something to do when we go back, and we will come to this planet often in the future, and the trade will not be interrupted. There are 2 cargo ships that will travel back and forth between the 2 worlds for a long time. Rather than saying that they took the initiative to go back, it would be better to say that something big happened on the Azure Star. The Gaga Kingdom is preparing to make trouble again. As for what exactly it is impossible to know. It is only known from the spies that this time the Gaga Kingdom may really soar into the sky. For this reason, even the fleet of the Jianming Empire hurried back from the depths of the universe, so in order to be on the safe side, the Wang's Empire had to go back as well. The Queen Mother of the Ming Dynasty breathed a sigh of relief and said, in that case, we're relieved. Before Lin Chen left, he paused and turned around and said, if a war between races breaks out one day, we may still need your help. Queen Mother Sun Ru was stunned for a moment. These days, she has been constantly learning the culture of the Wang's Empire, which has made her yearn for the Wang's Empire, and she has also understood that there are not only humans in the universe, but also thousands of races other than humans. However, she has almost the same concept as the Azure Star and even the Kepler planet. Except for humans, any civilized race is evil. Now that she heard Lin Chen say this, she said without any consideration, if it is a racial war, the Ming Dynasty will definitely stand on the side of us humans and will never waver. Many people looked at Lin Chen in surprise, not understanding why he said that. The next day, with the dignitaries of the Ming Dynasty watching, the fleet of the Wang's Empire took off one after another, flying into space and flying towards the Azure Star. Because the Gaga country suddenly did something strange again, time has become urgent. In the vast universe, one after another Millennium Falcon opened the hyperdrive. Swoosh, a dozen streams of light flashed in an instant. And here, the Gaga country on the Azure Star. In fact, the Gaga country did not do anything strange, but to show its strength and keep up with the world's technological innovation. In the secretly built Biological Research Institute, today there was a shocking good news that the GOTS vaccine has made great achievements. This achievement is the GOTS vaccine that has been secretly carried out. A biological project for all human beings to become little supermen. By changing the human body's metabolism, it can achieve the improvement of physical familiarity and become extremely powerful. It is not a problem for paralyzed people to stand up. Lungamo came to the Biological Research Institute with an excited face. Although the Biological Research Institute was established not long ago, it has left it far behind in terms of progress. As soon as he entered the institute, Lungamo asked excitedly, Has our research on the GOTS vaccine that changes the human body really succeeded? Now, those top forces all have spaceships. The powerful ones have formed fleets to start interstellar exploration, and the weaker ones have gone to Mars to dig fairy vines. All parties are busy, but the spaceship of the Gaka country has never moved. So now he is eager to hear good news to relieve his mood. The person in charge of the Biological Research Institute nodded and said, "It succeeded, but the GOTS vaccine is still unstable and needs to be improved for a while." Lungamo didn't understand. The person in charge of biological research said, "I will take you to see the mice in our experiment now." After a while, the group came to the laboratory. Before the person in charge could speak, Lungamo noticed the mice in a test box. A dead mouse. Judging from the degree of the hideous corpse, it seems that the side effects of the vaccine injection brought great pain and eventually died. Is this instability? The person in charge of the Biological Research Institute introduced. Yes, we injected 2 mice, one became stronger, and the other struggled to death not long after the injection. Lungamo's face flushed with excitement. The opportunity for the rise of the Gaka kingdom has come. As long as the GOTS vaccine is injected, humans will become little supermen. But then he frowned and said in a deep voice, "The side effects are too great, and the success rate of only half is too low. It cannot be popularized. It has not reached half. If there are more experimental mice, it may not reach this number, so it needs to be improved. It would be better if it can be tested on humans." Lungamo's body stiffened. Test with humans? It is too risky to test the vaccine on humans when it is not stable yet. But if it is not tested on humans, who knows how long it will take for the GOTS vaccine to be available? With the spacecraft on one side and the GOTS vaccine on the other, both encountered difficulties. Lungamo struggled in his heart and said in a hoarse voice, "You should improve the GOTS vaccine again to minimize the danger. Then I will help you find that Gaka warriors who dare to sacrifice their lives for the Gaka country." The head of the Biological Research Institute said confidently, "Well, we will definitely improve the GOTS vaccine as soon as possible." Half a month later, the Wangzhe Empire has started a new round of battleship plans, and other countries are not idle either. Especially the Jianmeng Empire. They used advanced technology in the depths of the universe to conquer a human native planet directly by violent means in a short period of time. Chapter 284 God's vaccine will open a disaster chapter. The resource dividend and walk dividend brought by this made them start to build spaceships with all their resources. Neither the Wangzhe Empire nor the Jianmeng Empire put their main goal on space again, because the Gaka kingdom was doing something weird. The spy sent a message that they were secretly doing bioengineering, which was about human body enhancement, and seemed to be preparing to use humans for testing. This immediately aroused the high vigilance of the two empires. The disaster of the Azure Star had just passed not long ago, and the Gaka kingdom must not cause a disaster. During this period, the Biological Research Institute of the Gaka Kingdom had finally achieved new results after continuously improving the GOTS vaccine. This time, 1,000 mice were ready. Injection. The GOTS vaccine was injected in full. Soon, 1,000 mice began to react, either excited or painful. The entire Biological Research Institute fell into a weird and crazy atmosphere. After a while, the first mouse could not withstand the vaccine and died directly with a hideous body. One after another, mice began to die in the same way. In the end, except for the dead mice, all the living ones succeeded. After counting the 1,000 mice, only less than 700 died, and the success rate was as high as nearly 70%. Lungamo looked at the strong mice one by one, and his heart was full of excitement. He said confidently, "Very good, the day of our Gaka country's rise is not far away. If we can reach 90%, it can be popularized on a large scale." The head of the Biological Research Institute smiled and said, "The current mortality rate is still too high, but it has reached the point where people can be used for testing." How Gaka country rises has almost become Lungamo's obsession. Right now, the opportunity to rise is right in front of him. Lungamo thinks it is worth sacrificing a few people for the rise of Gaka country. As for the danger of death, is the rise of Gaka country not important? After preparation, Gaka country began its publicity plan. Gaka country is about to rise, but it needs a group of volunteers to test a certain bioengineering project. There is an extremely low risk of life during the injection process, so volunteers will receive generous compensation from Gaka country, and those who unfortunately die will receive generous compensation. Opportunities are rare, so sign up for the rise of Gaka country. As soon as the news came out, Gaka country was boiling. Is our Gaga country finally going to rise? It's just a death. As long as it can be exchanged for rise, I will definitely sign up. Ha ha ha, I seem to have seen that Gaga country will become the center of the world in the near future. Countless Gaga people heard that Gaga country is really not far from rising this time, but the premise of this rise is that they need to be volunteers to be tested. Almost on the first day, the major registration offices of Gaga country were crowded with countless Gaga people. The scene was crowded with people, and countless people signed up. As for the slight risk of death, it's nothing in front of the rise of Gaga country. Of course, more people still went with the idea that they would never win the big prize. Counting the number of people who signed up within 3 days, the scale is as large as 100,000. Now the opportunity for the rise of the Gaga kingdom has come. In the end, after the preliminary screening, 100 Gaga volunteers were lucky to be selected. These 100 supporters are full of confidence and enter the Institute of Biology with a strong dream. The Gaga kingdom will definitely rise. With this money, you can play with those bitches in the eyes of the rich. And it is precisely because of this volunteer recruitment activity that the Gaga kingdom gave the spies of the Wangzhe Empire and the Jianmeng Empire an opportunity to take advantage of. Through blackmail, extortion, etc. They finally followed the registration point all the way and caught a researcher from the Institute of Biology and finally obtained useful information. Immediately sent to the Empire. A piece of information was sent to Jiangxia in a hurry. She read it over and over again and said, by changing metabolism, the purpose of physical fitness can be achieved, making people extremely powerful, and even paralyzed patients can stand up again without any problem. Frowning slightly, her intuition told her that this project seemed a little bad, but she couldn't say what it was. Lin Chen was talking to Fanqi remotely. When he heard Jiangxi's words, he was stunned for a moment. He frowned and asked, I have already ordered the destruction of all the projects of the God's medicine. How did you know? God's medicine? I mean the God's vaccine. Lin Chen closed Fanqi's conversation, and even deliberately glanced outside the door before locking it. He said, where did the God's vaccine you mentioned come from? He had a bad feeling in his heart. In fact, there had been relevant progress in the base on the God's medicine a long time ago, but since Lin Chen browsed the system mall, he immediately ordered the destruction of all the information. Because the characteristics of the God's medicine are not a blessing for mankind, but a disaster for mankind. In the system mall, there is a virus called T-virus with almost the same characteristics as the God's medicine. Although it can achieve the goal of becoming a Superman, it will also lose its humanity and eventually become a walking corpse. Now that Jiangxi mentioned it again, Lin Chen became nervous. Our spies got the information from there, and it's called God's vaccine. It's not a good thing. We have studied it before. I found a big drawback and it was eventually ordered to be destroyed. Not many people know about it. Ah, what are the drawbacks? Lin Chen asked back. To get something, you have to pay something, unless you can find a more advanced energy material than the fairy vine to pay, but we don't have it now, so what else can we pay from ourselves besides our bodies? Jiangxia said. Wisdom and humanity. Lin Chen said. What if it causes an uncontrollable situation that will be artificially transmitted? This is not alarmist, but there is an introduction in the system mall. It is very contagious. With the darkness of people's hearts, it will infinitely expand the intensity of infection. Jiangxia looked solemn. If everything you said is true, it will be a catastrophe. That night, the two were busy all night without sleep. The next day, 2 plans about the Gaga kingdom were listed. The first one, requesting the Gaga kingdom to terminate the research and development of the God's vaccine, and the Wangzhe Empire will destroy all the information on its behalf. The second plan. If the first plan is successful, the plan to suspend the entry of all foreign personnel will be implemented urgently. Within the deadline, all external ports and air transport will be closed, and the border inspection will be intensified. For this reason, the World Congress was convened by the Wangzhe Empire. At the parliament, the Wangzhe Empire strongly stated that the Gaga kingdom must terminate the God's vaccine program. The foreign ministers of all countries in the world were stunned. God's vaccine? What? Is the Gaga kingdom going to do something weird again? For a time, people were panicked. According to the law that the stronger the name, the more hateful it is. God's vaccine is such a great name, it is very likely to have an unprecedented big rollover in the future. No wonder even the top forces like the Wangzhe Empire, which rarely ask about the World Congress, have begun to make a strong statement. As soon as I said this, I was immediately strongly protested by the Gaga kingdom. The God's vaccine is for all mankind. You, the Wang's Empire, have no right to ask. Please put away your hypocritical satire in the World Congress. At present, the rise of the Gaka Kingdom is imminent, and no mistakes can be made. It must be that the Wang's Empire is jealous of the great invention of the God's vaccine by the Gaka Kingdom and wants to seize it by force. After saying that, he also deliberately glanced at the foreign minister of the Jianmeng Empire. The latter frowned deeply. In general, in this situation, it is reasonable to help the Gaka Kingdom to fight against the Wang's Empire. In short, they are very unhappy with them. But since I saw the intelligence sent back by the spies yesterday, the Wang's Empire's reaction is so strong now, demanding that all the information on the God's vaccine be destroyed on my behalf. So why do I have a vague feeling that it is not good? Chapter 285. The Gaka Kingdom is about to counterattack. In the end, he chose not to speak. It was not because he did not want to help, but because he was unsure about the side effects of the God's vaccine. We in the Gaka country will never hand over any information about the God's vaccine. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Gaka was indignant and protested strongly. Want Gaka to hand over the information of the God's vaccine? No way. Haha, they are clearly dreaming. After a while, the World Parliament ended. The Wang's Empire had no choice but to implement the second plan. Close all external air and sea transportation, as well as personnel entry within a time limit, and increase the intensity of border inspections. For a while, the whole world was dumbfounded. Close the country's borders for no reason? Countless people protested. The World Parliament asked about this matter. But the Wang's Empire only said, there may be big things happening in the future. The reason why that country's borders are closed and no one is allowed to enter or leave is just to prevent possible catastrophes in the future, and this catastrophe is very likely to be brought by the Gaka country. The whole world was in an uproar. Gaka country again? Are you in the Wang's Empire starting to learn from the Jianmeng Empire, and you'll mess with whoever you don't like? What on earth is going on? What kind of catastrophe is this? Is it real or fake? What kind of catastrophe can the Gaka kingdom bring? Many people chose not to believe it. They generally sympathized with the weak, thinking that the Wang's Empire must have some unspeakable secrets. The Jianmeng Empire was still trying to figure out the intentions of the Wang's Empire. Block the country's borders? If it were in the past, they would definitely be happy that the Wang's Empire was digging its own grave, but now the situation feels very strange. First, the spies' intelligence showed the extraordinary nature of the God's vaccine. Then the Wang's Empire asked to destroy all the information on its behalf, and finally it even blocked the country's borders as if something big was going to happen. Could it be because of the God's vaccine of the Gaka kingdom? Pussy inexplicably connected all the things in advance. Apart from this, he really couldn't think of any purpose. The more he thought about it, the more terrible it felt. Even the Wang's Empire reacted like this, and the situation might really be bad. He wanted to force the Gaka kingdom to hand over the information, but after thinking about it, he decided to forget it. The Gaka kingdom is about to rise. Even if it is against the whole world, the old man Lungamo will be stubborn to the end for the God's vaccine. Because the temptation of the God's vaccine is too great, everyone will be a little Superman, who will he be afraid of in the future? With this thought, Pussy hurriedly called the Minister of Internal and External Affairs. What's the urgent matter? The two ministers of Internal and External Affairs rushed into the office. Just like the Wang's Empire, close all external traffic and prohibit all personnel from entering the Jianmeng Empire. Once a stowaway is found, he will be shot directly without reporting. Pussy spoke confidently. This time, even if the car rolls over, it can also drag the Wang's Empire. The Jianmeng Empire has never been afraid of rollovers. The people have long trained a steel will. Even if the rollover is big, they can quickly adjust their mentality and welcome the next wave of rollovers. The Minister of the Interior worriedly stopped him. But if we do that, the economy of our Jianmeng Empire will become depressed. What if the Gaka kingdom really set off a human catastrophe? Don't they have no evidence either? Pussy was furious. Oh, fuck, although I didn't participate in the research and development of the God's vaccine, no one knows the God's vaccine better than me, so I know how terrible that God's vaccine is. How terrible is it? Pussy was very dissatisfied. I don't care, we must close all external traffic like the Wang's Empire and strictly prohibit the circulation of people. Soon, the Jianmeng Empire also took the same arrangement as the Wang's Empire and closed all external traffic. Now, the whole world is dumbfounded. It's okay for the Wang's Empire to block the country's borders, but why did the Jianmeng Empire follow suit? Could it be that the Garca Kingdom will really have a catastrophe? Some people chose to follow that path of the two empires and began to block the country's borders, and there were also countries that thought they were stubborn and were not afraid at all. When the news reached the Garca Kingdom, it immediately set off a wave of anger. Countless Garca people roared hysterically. Damn it, it must be the damned Jianwen and Wangxian who can't stand the rise of the Garca Kingdom. They are slandering us. How could we cause a catastrophe? The world is too dangerous, and it will be saved by the Garca Kingdom in the end. The Wangxi Empire is nothing, our Garca Kingdom is the strongest. At this moment, the Garca people gnashed their teeth. Seeing the strength of others, they have long been itching in their hearts, and now that the Garca Kingdom is about to rise, they actually slander the Garca Kingdom as a catastrophe for mankind. Damn it. After the Garca Kingdom rises completely, it will definitely blow up your two evil empires of Wangxi and Jianmeng. In the Biological Research Institute of the Garca Kingdom, Lun Gama was almost furious. Damn it. The damned Wangxi Empire and Jianmeng Empire actually started to think about the GOTS vaccine, and actually brought the whole world to pit the Garca Kingdom together. Just wait and see one by one. Lun Gama was furious. At present, the Garca Kingdom urgently needs a gorgeous turn to complete a shocking counterattack and beat everything. The GOTS vaccine plan is launched. In order to be able to be tested, the GOTS vaccine was improved and perfected again. The head of the Biological Research Institute said, "Inject the first volunteer." A dose of GOTS vaccine was injected into the volunteer's body. Everyone was confidently waiting outside the isolation room for seconds for the drug to take effect. 1 minute later, the drug began to take effect, and the volunteer fell to the ground in full view of everyone, twitching all over, as if he was suffering from great pain. Everyone in the Biological Research Institute. The other 99 volunteers looked at their companions in the isolation room with fear, as if they were having epilepsy. Suddenly, I wanted to back out. Wasn't it agreed that there would be a little danger? How could only one volunteer die? Isn't this probability too high? Not good, run away. Then the 99 volunteers were tied up and arranged neatly at one end of the wall like lambs to be slaughtered. Lungama scolded them. For the rise of the Garca country, you actually want to escape? Isn't it just that one volunteer is going to die? What are you afraid of? There are still 99,999 volunteers waiting behind. Even if they're used for artificial experiments, the GOTS vaccine can be developed. After a while, the body of the first experimenter who was injected with the vaccine stopped twitching. Many researchers asked, "Is he dead? Let's go and take a look first." 2 researchers entered the isolation room and prepared to check the status of the volunteers. After a check, the researchers said with great joy on the communicator, "Volunteer no. One is alive and well, has fallen asleep, and has become stronger." The head of the Biological Research Institute smiled. Lungama also smiled. The GOTS vaccine is actually perfectly compatible with the human body. It seems that the Garca Kingdom is really going to rise this time. Facing the resistance of almost half of the forces in the world, it is about to succeed in a counterattack. After a while, the first volunteer suddenly opened his eyes and felt that his body seemed to be filled with endless power. He even felt that he could kill a cow with one punch. The researcher said, "Test the data." The first volunteer became strong and did as the researcher said, and broke the floor with one punch. This scene caught everyone's eyes. Before anyone else could express their opinions, the volunteers excitedly said, "How powerful. Yesterday was my birthday on November 27th of the lunar calendar. My parents were partial to me, and family conflicts broke out on the night of November 26th. I received no blessings on my birthday, nothing at all. I didn't have any meals for 4 days, and only ate a few cookies. I was deeply hurt. If you have seen this, please help me say a belated blessing, thank you. Finally, regarding today's update, maybe I went to bed, and I'll post as much as I write when I wake up." Chapter 286 Opening the Devil's Door. A punch breaks the floor. How strong is this force? A group of volunteers immediately changed their minds about running away. As long as they are vaccinated, they will become extremely powerful. Wouldn't they become little supermen? Suddenly, it seems that the pain is not so scary. The volunteers were excited, and their dreams filled their hearts again. This is the power of the vaccine that gives them infinite confidence, blind confidence. In the past, poor losers only had an unattainable dream. But now the opportunity has come. Become a little Superman and marry a rich and beautiful woman. In this case, let us complete the opportunity to show off in the future. At this time, the researchers in the isolation room are still continuing to check the physical condition of the first volunteer. The first volunteer is full of confidence. "I feel like I'm a Superman now." The researcher asked, "Are there any adverse reactions in the body?" "No feeling." "Very good, it seems that the vaccine of God can be tested on a large scale." "No feeling." The researcher left the isolation room and reported the situation to the person in charge of the biological base. The latter pondered for a while. Just because the first volunteer succeeded in the experiment doesn't mean that all will succeed. The shortcomings of the vaccine must be found before it can be popularized nationwide or even globally. The remaining volunteers have already been eager to try, and they all shouted excitedly, "Come to me if you have anything." They can't wait to become Superman and go out to do something. Lungamer waved his hand. All the volunteers were isolated and injected with the vaccine. After a while, the drug took effect. The volunteers were in pain and died. In the end, as many as 70 people succeeded, and some unlucky people died. That is to say, the success rate is as high as 70%, a terrifying number. At this time, Lungamer's face was already full of smiles. Such a high success rate should be popularized soon. As for those who died, they must have poor physical fitness. The head of the Biological Research Institute said excitedly, "The institute will remove all impurities from the vaccine and achieve a success rate close to 100%. Lungamer was overjoyed and smiled. "Very good, the second batch of volunteers will be here soon." Later, the Biological Research Institute began to dissect those who died. At the same time, batches of volunteers were sent over. The second time, the success rate was 80%. The third time, the success rate was 99%. When Lungamer heard the news, he was overjoyed. "Hold a press conference immediately." "No, it's a global announcement." Thinking that half of the forces in the world are now closing their borders, Lungamer was so angry that his teeth ached. It seems that the effect of this pretense will be greatly reduced. That night, the country of Garka announced a message to the world. Garka has successfully risen. The vaccine it has developed can change the human body's metabolism to become a little Superman, and even let the paralyzed stand up again. It has begun to be promoted on a small scale. As soon as the news came out, the entire country of Garka fell into an endless carnival. Our Garka has finally risen. The center of the world is Garka. Ha! In the future, women all over the world will be proud to marry into Garka. Our Garka will always be the strongest. The rise of Garka is the dream of all Garka people. Now it has come true. Countless Garka people have developed an extremely confident, arrogant mentality. In the past, the Garka country did not rise. Except for the motorcycle mobile force, it was inferior to others in everything, which led to their inferiority complex. But 30 years of East and 30 years of West, don't bully the poor Garka. The Garka country has transformed gorgeously. They are proud Garka people. Just ask the whole world if they're afraid. Although it has not yet achieved a 100% success effect. People die in every experiment. This is the last difficulty faced by biological research. They have been working hard all the time. Batches of volunteers were secretly sent to the institute to undergo death experiments. In order to create better momentum, although the dead volunteers have almost filled up an ice storage, the Garka country still continues to promote. After continuous experiments, the God's vaccine is about to be put on the market. Its birth will make the Garka people have the strongest physique in the world. At present, the Garka country is in an arrogant atmosphere. No matter what it is, as long as it is good news, whether it is true or false, all the Garka people will choose to believe it, and no one dares to question it. Sure enough, our Garka country is the strongest in the world. Ha! The Wangzhe Empire is a piece of trash. They dare to take the lead in slandering us. When all of us become little Supermen, we will collectively beat the Wangzhe Empire. I seem to have seen the scene of Garka country beating the whole world without any rivals. Countless Garka people were filled with confident smiles on their faces. The sense of pride was unprecedented. Over time, Garka country could not sit still. It was so awesome, and if it didn't show its strength again, it would feel sorry for itself. Then it must show off to the world. No, it should be to show the mighty and strong muscles of Garka country. The perfect plan was executed. All kinds of momentum began, and the volunteers who were transformed by the God's vaccine were also powerful, such as killing a cow with one punch, and a mouthful of spit could make a hole in the ground, etc. And so on. Finally, the official of Garka country stated that it would broadcast light to the world in Garka country tomorrow to show the volunteers who had used the God's vaccine. For a time, the self-confidence of Gaka country was unprecedentedly high. Even many Gaka people shouted various conceited slogans. Gaka is the world hegemon. Gaka is the center of all mankind. And Lungamo was also happy. In the past, he often failed when pretending to be cruel, but it doesn't matter. Life should have ups and downs. Only the last time he succeeded in pretending to be cool is the real success. This time, there is no doubt that it will be the last time for Gaka to pretend to be cruel, because tomorrow Gaka will prove to the world how it has risen and how it has shocked all mankind. The next day. At this time, the Biological Research Institute is still constantly carrying out experiments to improve vaccines. Today is a new project, dissecting the body to analyze where the problem with the vaccine is. Several researchers opened the door of the devil and took out a volunteer who died from the drug effect from the ice storage. On the test bench, a group of researchers immediately surrounded him with various instruments. When the dissection was halfway through, someone clearly felt that the body moved, and he said in surprise, "I feel that the body is moving." "I feel it too." "I just noticed that his mouth moved." A group of researchers were overjoyed. It seems that their research has made new discoveries, and the previous deaths were just fake deaths. The head of the Biological Research Institute exclaimed, "What a miracle!" The volunteers who had lost their vitality came back to life. Although their internal organs had no signs of life, the bodies were still moving, and it was becoming more and more obvious. Miracle. It is worthy of being the God's vaccine. It is really awesome. However, what awaited them was not a miracle, but the arrival of a catastrophe. The dead body seemed to have gradually thawed. The frozen body suddenly stood up and rushed towards the researchers like crazy. A riot happened without any accident, which shocked the entire institute. The dead body came back to life and began to attack people. Soon, the riot was quelled, and the living body was finally beaten into a sieve after biting many people. After being reported, it immediately attracted the attention of the top leaders of the Gaka country. Damn it, I boasted to the whole world that today I would show the world the excellence of the God's vaccine, and the transport planes also flew over to pick up the volunteers. But you told me something happened. In order to avoid a car accident, the incident was eventually concealed. However, all experiments were suspended and a decision would be made after the show. At this time, a transport plane had arrived at the Biological Research Institute, ready to take the warriors of the Gaka country to the capital to show off their super luxurious lineup. The volunteers boarded the plane, and everything went well. The head of the Biological Research Institute endured the severe pain of the wound on his arm, gritted his teeth, and finally chose to board the plane, ready to personally explain the seriousness of the matter to Lungamo. 10 o'clock in the morning. The square of the capital of the Gaka country. Thousands of Gaka people welcomed the transport plane in the sky, slowly descending around the square. At the same time, the audience of the whole Gaka country and even the world were also watching the live broadcast, preparing to watch the visual feast. The audience around the world has not felt anything yet, but countless Gaka people have been excited and warm. The long-awaited moment has finally come. Looking forward to our warriors coming out of the transport plane. Wow, I think the Gaka warriors will definitely give us a surprise later. Countless banners, accompanied by people's voices, make the current atmosphere extremely lively. Then Lungamo came out and blew wildly, and countless Gaka people cheered. Lungamo announced loudly, "Please invite our warriors to come out and greet everyone." With an SS sound, the rear hatch of the transport plane opened. A group of volunteers walked out of the transport plane with very unhappy faces, and many of them had blood and wounds on their bodies. The volunteers couldn't understand. Just now, the person in charge, who was obviously fine, had gone crazy, biting and scratching, and unexpectedly injured many people. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 287: A Catastrophe of the Walking Dead broke out. Author's note: the chapter name was sent incorrectly. This is chapter 284 because just now, the person in charge of biological research, who was apparently doing fine, went crazy, biting and scratching, and unexpectedly hurt quite a few people. In the end, the big guy had to endure the scratches on his body and beat it into a pool of meat paste. Thinking of this, everyone was furious. Damn it, he hurt so many people by himself. It felt like he would be frustrated when he showed off to the world later. A group of people lined up neatly in the square, waiting for Lungamo's instructions. Lin Chen on the podium boasted wildly. Now I declare that the Gaga country has officially risen. Once ordinary people are vaccinated, they will have strong physiques and agile postures like our warriors. Even paralyzed patients can stand up again. Except for a few who looked normal, the faces of the 1,000 volunteers in the audience began to turn pale and bloodless, and cold sweat gradually appeared on their faces. They felt that Lin Chen's inspiring speech would become very irritating when they heard it closely. But the people of Gaga country did not know that their warriors seemed to be experiencing extreme discomfort in their bodies. Listening to Lin Chen's inspiring speech, they were all excited and their self-confidence was unprecedented. But the audiences watching the live broadcast all over the world did not care. There was no excitement at all, and they were waiting for the performance of Gaga country. After Lin Chen's boasting, the effect was great. He announced confidently, "Now, let the warriors of the Gaga country show their unique skills and announce the rise of the Gaga country to the world and all mankind." This was a show that had been carefully planned long ago. It was nothing more than performing some very ornamental movements such as splits in the air. These were simply a piece of cake for the volunteers who had been injected with the GOTS vaccine. However, the scene was awkward. Only a very small number of volunteers performed their unique skills, but Lin Chen responded with more violent coughs. Those volunteers not only coughed, but also had pale faces, blue veins on their foreheads, and pale lips. It was as if these were not the warriors that Lin Chen boasted about, but drug addicts. This scene was broadcast live to the world. Audiences around the world. Gaga people. Lin Chen's face was burning. In yesterday's report, these volunteers were as strong as bulls, with energy that had nowhere to vent, but why are so many people weak now? Did they all go to the red light district to find girls and have a blast yesterday? He had to repeat it again in a loud voice, asking these volunteers to show their unique skills to the world. He was still answered by a violent cough. At this time, these volunteers who had been vaccinated had already lost consciousness. After a while, the coughing stopped. Lin Chen was overjoyed. But suddenly, the pupils of these volunteers turned white, their faces turned grey, and even their bodies were shaking. Most of the 1,000 volunteers had mutated, just like the head of the Biological Research Institute who had gone crazy. These mutated volunteers could no longer be called human beings, because they had become real zombies. These zombies seemed to have a great interest in human flesh. This Gaga capital square gathered countless Gaga people, and you can imagine how excited these zombies were. After the mutation, the zombies began to rush towards the living people around them. Every time they pounced on a Gaga person, they would bite him. Some Gaga people screamed miserably. But more Gaga people didn't care. Someone was surprised and asked, "Is this an interactive program?" ? Audiences from all over the world. Lin Chen was confused. There was no such show that interacted with the audience. But it looked like it, and the intestines were pulled out. And blood began to flow on the ground. However, a minute later, the Gaga people in the square were panicked. Dead people. Really dead people. They clearly saw that the volunteers ate many Gaga people, and some of them were eating around a corpse. The atmosphere suddenly became weird. They are eating people. Everyone run, those volunteers who eat people are simply demons. Buddha, please show your miracles and destroy these demons. The scene became out of control. Countless Gaga people in the square fled like frightened sheep, which attracted the attention of hundreds of zombies. They abandoned the blood food on the ground and began to kill the Gaga people who escaped alive. Large-scale infection began, and the humans killed by the zombies before joined the army of zombies in a short time. The most terrifying thing is that once they are grabbed or bitten by them, they will become zombies in a short time. The scene became out of control. Screams rose and fell around the square. As time went by, from hundreds of zombies, it became thousands and tens of thousands. The square, which was originally very lively, became like hell on earth. There were many broken limbs on the ground, and when the Gaga people ran in front, there would be many zombies behind them to kill them. And on the ground, there were constantly dead Gaga people joining the army of zombies, making the scale continue to grow. Even if they lost their legs, they seemed to feel no pain and crawled towards the living. And this scene has undoubtedly been broadcast live to the world. The audiences around the world were collectively shocked, and their big mouths had turned into a knot shape. After a long time, they said in horror, "Fuck. What happened? Even rabies is not so severe. Could it be that this is the catastrophe that Wang's empire is talking about, the God's vaccine that Gaga country is researching?" At this time, Lungamo on the podium looked at the chaotic situation below with a dull face. Why did it become like this? Obviously everything went smoothly, and everything went smoothly. As long as the show succeeded this time, it would prove to the world that Garka country had successfully risen. But something went wrong and caused the car to overturn. Those volunteers became crazy and began to kill humans uncontrollably. I couldn't help but think of the important thing that the head of the Biological Research Institute reported to me, that the God's vaccine had great effects. But I couldn't accept this fact. Lungamo stood there like a clay sculpture or a wooden sculpture, and fell into deep self-blame. Suddenly, a hand grabbed Lungamo's arm. The Minister of Foreign Affairs was furious and said, "You old man, why don't you run? Are you standing here waiting to die? I won't leave. I want to command the overall situation here." The Minister of the Interior was also very anxious. "What are you commanding? Go quickly. The 500-man guard force that has just been transferred here has made a big splash in the army of zombies. If you don't leave now, you really can't leave." He found that some zombies began to move towards Lungamo's podium. "Enemy attack, open fire. Open fire." Tut-tut-too to Lungamo's guards kept pouring firepower towards the zombies, but the sound emitted from the barrels also attracted a larger army of zombies to come here in a mighty manner. They have no sense of pain and have lost their human nature. Now they only have the instinct of wild beasts, to kill humans and get blood food. Less than a minute after firing, the guards' defensive circle seemed to be unable to cope with it, and the formation kept shrinking. The captain of the guard shouted anxiously, "We must evacuate here, there are too many enemies and we can't defeat them all." Lungamo also realized the seriousness of the problem and said hurriedly, retreat quickly, and notify your legions to move closer to the capital. Isolate this city quickly and don't let it spread to other areas." A group of people fled directly out of the city under the protection of the guards. At this time, the streets outside the square also had walking corpses, and all kinds of desperate voices were heard. It seems that the capital of the Garka kingdom can no longer be saved, and it is very contagious. This is the last update for today. It's time to rest. The author is physically and mentally exhausted and scarred. Chapter 288. There is nothing you don't understand. The next day, countless people turned on the TV. All they saw were news reports about the country of Garka. Hello, everyone. According to insiders, the country of Garka has fallen into chaos. It is reported that the country of Garka has become out of control and only a very small number of humans have survived. Please reduce going out and gatherings recently. Hello, everyone. Our station has contacted the surviving Garka people in the country of Garka. According to the communication, the infectious disease started to spread from volunteers who had been injected with the Garka vaccine. They have lost their human characteristics and will be contagious once bitten or scratched. Please take precautions as much as possible. Good morning, everyone. Due to the infectious disease in Garka, the country has activated the first-level emergency plan. Experts initially judged that the God's vaccine of Garka is not a blessing for mankind at all, but a catastrophe for mankind. It has great side effects and will make people lose their humanity and become beasts, just like all the characteristics of zombies in the movie. Countless people were shocked. Zombies? Garka actually brought out such a bad thing as zombies. It was zombies that destroyed the capital of Garka in one day. The capital of a country with a population of tens of millions, but it is a metropolis that survived the invasion of alien spacecraft with the help of the Wangxian Empire. However, it was not destroyed by aliens, but destroyed by zombies. And once these tens of millions of zombies spread from the country of Garka to all directions, it is hard to imagine that something big is going to happen. Yes. The country of Garka really shocked the whole world. The news began to rage around the world like a hurricane. It caused an uproar around the world. The country of Garka brought out zombies. At this moment, the world panicked. In order to maintain the face of the global hegemony, the Jianmeng Empire spread the news about zombies to the whole city. Zombies. Living corpses that are resurrected due to certain mutations of humans are not living things strictly speaking. They have no vision, only a strong sense of smell and hearing, and only hunger. The main source of infection is trauma infection. Once infected, if there is no antidote, please isolate or commit suicide and be killed. Pussy was very proud. He is the prophet of the Jianmeng Empire, the god of freedom. This honor is absolutely overwhelming. Because at this time, the Jianmeng people of the Jianmeng Empire were almost in love with Pussy. Countless Jianmeng people held banners and surrounded Pussi's mansion, shouting all kinds of slogans. We must build a statue of the male god of freedom in the image of Pussi. Puss is the prophet of the Jianmeng Empire. If it weren't for Pussi's efforts to turn the tide, the spread of zombies in the Garka country might have spread to the Jianmeng Empire. Puss saved the Jianmeng Empire. He is the savior of all mankind. The sound waves outside seemed to tear the sky apart, and the calls came one after another, and the patriotic enthusiasm of the Jianmeng people was high. This was one of the few big scenes in the history of the Jianmeng Empire. Pussi showed an arc at the corner of his mouth. In this case, how can I miss any opportunity to show off? A high-profile speech will start quickly. Although it is a tense moment now and we have to guard against the entry of the Garka people, the impulse to show off in my heart directly ignores it. At present, the Jianmeng Empire is like an iron barrel. Those who go out can't come in, and those who can't come in can go out, so it is impossible for zombie infection to happen. Pussi stood on the balcony, facing thousands of Jianmeng people, and boasted, "We Jianmeng people are the best human race in the universe. We have conquered an indigenous planet some time ago. In the future, the materials of the Jianmeng Empire will be greatly developed." The Jianmeng people who gathered from all directions were very excited. It was another good news. Surprise! It seems that the strength of the Jianmeng Empire can no longer keep a low profile. Someone asked loudly, "Excuse me, how did you turn the tide and block the country's borders before the zombies of the Garka kingdom broke out?" Pussi's eyes lit up. This question is great. He boasted confidently. If you want to choose a prophet from the world, this person must be the great Pussi of the Jianmeng Empire. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Many Jianmeng people looked up at Pussi in confusion. Pussi enjoyed this kind of admiration and boasted, "I have never understood the god's vaccine of the Garka kingdom, but I know zombies very well. No one has studied them more deeply than me." He has boasted to a new level of selflessness. The Minister of Internal and External Affairs subconsciously covered his forehead, not wanting to listen to the old man's pretense. Because some time ago, he swore that no one knew more about the god's vaccine than him, and now he swore again. Anyway, the Jianmeng people outside believed it all. Although there are many loopholes in Pussi's boasting, the Jianmeng people are now in a state of extreme self-confidence, and no matter what, it is because of Pussi's insistence that the Jianmeng Empire is safe today, and there is no need to worry about the zombie crisis. That's why no one cares why Pussi closed the country before. Countless Jianmeng people who were watching the live broadcast all gave Pussi a thumbs up. The King of Understanding. He is worthy at being the King of Understanding. There has never been anything in the world that the old guy Pussi doesn't understand. Today, because of the sudden changes in the country of Garka, they suddenly became nervous. When they heard that the infected people in the Garka country almost matched all the characteristics of zombies, the whole world immediately closed its borders, especially the Garka people who were abroad. In order to be on the safe side, they didn't care about the other party's identity and just locked them up alone. It's not that the whole world is making a fuss, but the responsibility of human hearts will push the danger brought by zombies to an unprecedented height. For example, if relatives and friends are infected, the emotional reasons will make you unable to do anything. The most hateful thing is to conceal the infection. For example, when escaping, you think you can survive, but everyone is wiped out. The above and so on are all the effects of human hearts, so now countries all over the world have to be worried. Especially the Wangzhen Empire. All borders in the southwest have reached a severe situation of one guard every 10 steps and one sentry every 5 steps. There is no way, the southwest of the Wangzhen Empire borders the Garka country. After receiving the news, Lin Chen was almost vomiting blood. Damn. How could the proud Garka people have been treated like this? Isn't it just an outbreak of a zombie virus? Is it necessary to make such a fuss? He had sealed off the entire city of Garka immediately, and any zombies inside were not allowed to escape. He also mobilized 5 legions around Garka. Zombies? They were just trapped in the jar. Lin Chen was full of confidence. With his superior firepower, he vowed to destroy all zombies. He said in a deep voice, "Open fire on the capital of Garka in 3 hours. Tomorrow I will announce a good news to the world. They are as timid as Meister zombies, but our warriors of Garka are not afraid of life and death. They destroyed the catastrophe of zombies overnight and saved all mankind." The Minister of the Interior said with a worried look on his face, "But there are still survivors in the capital who haven't come out yet. Then open fire tomorrow morning." No matter how many people are left after one night, we must open fire. It's not a good idea to keep wasting time like this. Lungamo frowned. It's not that he didn't send helicopters for rescue, but since he rescued an infected person, he hurriedly recalled all helicopters. In the end, the order to cover Garka with firepower tomorrow morning was decided. A broadcast resounded throughout the capital of Garka. Originally, the survivors in the capital were expecting their warriors to show up and rescue them, but they didn't expect to receive any good news, but instead received an ultimatum like a death warrant. After a psychological struggle, countless survivors fled from their hiding places to the capital, and they kept cursing. Damn that old Lungamo, I curse him to die. Damn it, he doesn't think about how to save us but how to kill us. Why does that old Lungamo pretend to be so arrogant and ask us to pay for it? It's the zombies that Lungamo summoned. The survivors were very disappointed. What kind of God's vaccine is it? What kind of rise of the Garka kingdom will shock the whole world? As a result, the whole world was really shocked, because the God's vaccine that the Garka kingdom kept boasting about created a terrible zombie catastrophe. The survivors fled to the outside of the capital, and behind them were endless zombie armies that just kept chasing them. In such a critical situation, these survivors emerged in all directions and went out of the city without any despair. As for infection, maybe drinking a bowl of Ganase water that can cure diseases and eliminate disasters will be enough. Anyway, escape first. Chapter 289. Facing a crisis, steady as an old dog. As time went by, a large number of survivors were eaten by zombies, but a small number of survivors managed to escape. However, most of them were scratched or bitten by zombies. These survivors came to the major intersections out of the city with their last despair, until they met the detection point out of the city, and they actually asked people to take off their clothes to check if there were any wounds on their bodies. A survivor hurried over to be tested. However, as soon as he took off his clothes, he found a bite on his thigh. Shoot! Bang bang, several gunshots, and the survivor died without waiting for him to react. The reason why that detection point is so strict is actually that the order from above is tight, and no survivor with scratches and bites on his body is allowed to leave the city. The survivors who just arrived not far away changed their faces. But then they smiled. Shoot survivors with infection risks directly. It doesn't matter. Turning scratches and bites into burns can still easily avoid the detection point. So many people began to endure the severe pain and burn their bodies with fire to avoid the inspection of the detection point. Perfectly out of the city, so happy. But the virus has already begun to mutate, and their smooth exit from the city is equivalent to pushing the Garka country, which has just recovered, directly into the abyss. But Lungamo and other high-level officials of the Garka country don't know. The burns on the body are not caused by zombies, so there is no risk of infection. After these survivors left the city, they immediately fled in all directions, away from the capital of Garka country, in the last time before they turned into zombies. This just reflects the most hidden complexity of human hearts. These survivors thought that they would not be infected or die, so they concealed it and fled to various places with potential dangers. The next morning, all the heavy firepower of the 5 legions of the Garka country began to carry out a range coverage attack on the capital of Garka country. Swoosh swoosh boom boom boom, missiles were all over the sky, falling on the capital of Garka country like a rain of light, causing the sound of explosions rising and falling from each other. Countless buildings were destroyed, and countless zombies were blown into flesh and blood under carpet bombing. The scene was earth-shaking. Buildings collapsed one after another, and groups of zombies were turned into slag. Originally, this center of the Garka kingdom, after experiencing the disaster of monsters and spaceships, was not destroyed by the enemy, but by its own people. The bombing lasted for a full 6 hours. The carpet fire coverage had been over for no less than 5 rounds. Lungamo issued a new order, sending a helicopter formation into the ruins to attract zombies to see if there were any zombies that were lucky enough not to be killed. After a while, the helicopter formation flew back and reported a good news to Lungamo. After destroying the capital and the zombies, the Garka kingdom completely ended this human catastrophe. Lungamo became confident. At the moment, why do you feel that the Garka kingdom is pretending to be successful? Because the Garka kingdom has saved the world, isn't it enough to publicize such an impressive deed? If it weren't for the contribution of the Garka kingdom, maybe the zombie infection virus would have broken out all over the world. So the whole world must pay for the Garka kingdom and make compensation. Soon, Garka started to show off, boasting to the world how Garka saved the world. Gaga has now eliminated all sources of infection and made an indelible contribution to the safety of the world, but who should pay for Gaga's losses? The world is resistant. Why is Gaga treated harshly by the world when Gaga is maintaining the safety of the world? Isn't it chilling? Behind that tragedy of God's vaccine, it is not Gaga's fault, but the fault of all mankind. The whole world owes Gaga compensation. News, announcements, and statements were all exaggerated. Almost instantly, a global uproar was set off, and people began to report the news of Gaga. In any case, after the overturn, Gaga has once again made a gorgeous turn and become the focus of the world's attention, nothing else. The world is shocked. The Gaga country is awesome. The zombie virus that broke out yesterday, and all the sources of infection were eliminated today. It is worthy of being a country that is about to rise. People have always felt that the zombie virus may not be easily eliminated, because the role of human hearts will push the infectiousness to the top. Often, even if there is only one case of the virus left, it can be transmitted and set off another catastrophe in a very short time. However, only one day after the incident, the Gaga country confidently announced that the source of infection had been eliminated. Many people around the world do not believe this. Because other countries will never do those stupid things to hide the truth for the sake of face. But the Gaga country is not necessarily. This country has a mysterious self-confidence from top to bottom since ancient times. Even the Jianming Empire has to admit defeat in some aspects. Although they are all pretending, the Jianming Empire has the capital to pretend, but the Gaga country is different. Even the fake landing on Mars can be boasted with confidence. What else can they not dare to do? As for the compensation proposed by the Gaga country, it is even more speechless. The things you made have become contagious. Why should the whole world pay for you? It's obviously the old Lungama who is just dreaming. However, no country dared to be the first to take it lightly. It took only one day for the Gaga country to eliminate the source of infection, which is somewhat unacceptable. After all, the strength of the zombies yesterday was truly staged in front of the global audience. Many countries, with a questioning attitude and the attitude of sharing the same destiny with everyone, called the Gaga country one after another to ask Lungama if he needed military support. As a result, Lungama was furious and yelled at the phone. We in the Gaga country do not need military assistance from your Wang's empire, and we will never need it. The Gaga country has eliminated all the sources of infection, but your Jianming empire claims that the source of infection is difficult to eliminate. This is slander. I will go to the World Congress to expose your ugly crimes. Your polar empire clearly looks down on the Gaga country. Wait, the truth will tell you, a group of ignorant clowns. Lungama spoke righteously and rejected one kind call after another with a very tough attitude. I was so angry that I was shaking all over, because the whole world seems to not believe in the Gaga country at all. Damn it. They are just a bunch of clowns. Still want to come to Gaga country to show off. It's ridiculous. In the afternoon, just when the whole Gaga country thought that the zombies had been cleared out, a mutation occurred in a place they could not see. In many areas, the infected people who escaped from the capital became zombies, and suddenly attacked when the Gaga people just relaxed their vigilance. And it broke out in many places from all directions. The original gathering place of people turned into a bloody hell on earth in a very short time. The speed of zombie infection was very fast, so fast that everyone was caught off guard, which was even more serious than the situation in the capital of Gaga country. Countless Gaga people fled everywhere, which made the speed of infection of the virus almost unbelievable. Originally, the virus broke out in this city, but within a few hours, the surrounding cities also broke out immediately. For a time, a bigger zombie crisis broke out, and the Gaga country was full of smoke, and there was no safe place for the Gaga people to stay. At this time, the Minister of the Interior rushed into Lungama's office in a panic and said in a panic, "Something big has happened." Lungama frowned and said in a deep voice, "How can you be so panicked? Go out and knock on the door before you come in." He was completely confident of victory. Because even the catastrophe of zombies has been completely eliminated by the Gaga kingdom, why should he panic in the face of other things? He should be like himself, not only showing a calm and steady appearance without changing his face when facing a mounting collapse, but also madly scolding the whole world. This is the attitude of a winner. Chapter 290. It turns out that the clown is actually me. The Minister of the Interior was a little overwhelmed. Right now, the country of Gaga was in chaos. There were no less than 5 cities that were infected with zombies. The infected and uninfected people were fleeing. The situation was developing in the best direction. However, this old man was too patient, wasn't he? Go out, knock on the door and come in. Lungamo's face showed impatience. This should have been a happy day. The zombies were eliminated. With such a great achievement, the Minister of the Interior was in a panic, which immediately made Lungamo extremely unhappy. He wanted to teach him a lesson. Even if he knocked on the door and came in, he would see which foot he came in with first. The Minister of the Interior left the office speechlessly, knocked on the door and came back in, and hurriedly said, "Something big has happened." Lungamo scolded him, "Get out, step in with your left foot first." The Minister of the Interior was immediately furious and cursed, "You old thing, there is a zombie crisis outside, but you were talking nonsense to me." Lungamo's body suddenly froze and asked, "What did you say?" The Minister of the Interior roared, "Now there are 5 cities in the country of Garka that have experienced large-scale zombie infections." Lungamo immediately sat on the chair in a daze. A large-scale zombie infection broke out in 5 cities? Didn't they eliminate all the zombies in the capital? How could there be more? The Minister of the Interior said, "It is speculated that there are infected people among the survivors who escaped from the capital. They should have deliberately turned scratches or bites into burns and sneaked out of the city. As a result, multiple outbreaks occurred in all directions. The only good news at present is that the door of the Biological Research Institute is closed and no one has leaked out, otherwise the disaster would be even more serious." Lungamo sat in a chair with a dull face. How is it possible? Before, many forces in the world did not take it lightly and claimed to provide military assistance. It was because of their arrogance that they not only pushed away all the assistance, but also scolded others. It turned out that I was the clown from beginning to end. At the moment, Lungamo knew that it was useless to blame the infected people who ran out of the city. He said in a deep voice, "Use all our available forces to block the city for me, isolate everyone, and from now on, test the whole people. Anyone with new wounds on their bodies will be shot." The Minister of the Interior nodded seriously. At this point, only by doing this can the infection be minimized. If it is not isolated, there will always be a trend of infection. Lungamo said, "The whole country is under martial law now. Anyone on the street, no matter who it is, must be shot. All the Garka people must go back to their homes. They cannot come out even if they're hungry." The Minister of the Interior said, "But we don't have so much military power. Should we ask for military assistance from all over the world?" Lungamo looked bitter. "We don't have any assistance." "Why?" "Because just before you came, all the countries in the world wanted to give us military assistance, but I rejected them all." The Minister of the Interior covered his face with his hands, cursing in his heart that this old man Lungamo was clearly pushing the Garka country into the fire pit. A city in the Garka country. It was originally a very prosperous city. But today, this city suffered an unprecedented disaster. I don't know when it started in this good city, but zombies began to kill humans on the streets, and the number of zombies is still increasing. The number of humans on the streets is gradually decreasing, while the zombies seem to be endless and fill every corner of the city, constantly performing bloody scenes. Help! Didn't they say that the source of infection has been completely eradicated? Why are there still zombies? Damn it, why are there so many zombies? The whole city fell into chaos. There were a lot of bloodstains in every corner, as if telling what happened in the city before. And countless Garka people fled in panic. Soon, an army appeared like a savior. As soon as they appeared, they attacked the living corpses mercilessly. The dense firepower net composed of DA and Don hit the zombies like cutting wheat. One after another, the zombies were beaten into sieves and fell to the ground. If it were just like this, it seemed that zombies would never become a catastrophe for mankind. However, the dense gunfire here resounded throughout the city. Countless zombies were pouring in from all directions. It was difficult to see the end at a glance, which made people's scalps numb. Faced with so many zombies, the army began to feel powerless. Less than half an hour later, this army was scattered by the endless zombies and fled in panic. A commander yelled, "Everyone retreat quickly, or we will be surrounded." The signalman said, "There's news from above, telling us to abandon this city. It's too dangerous to rescue the survivors. That's the only way." The commander smiled bigly. If the source of infection is not blocked, there is no way to fight this war, because even if there is only one zombie, it will set off another catastrophe. Later, the whole country of Garka fell into chaos. Zombies bloomed everywhere, from a few cities to more than a dozen cities. It can be said that once zombies appear in a nearby city, there will be no doubt that the place will become a high-risk area. Faced with such a situation, Garka was overwhelmed. The propaganda was constantly being spread not to go out and not to go to the streets. Garka was already under military control, but it still did not stop the spread of the virus in Garka. All the legions of Garka were fighting zombies, but the troops were limited, and they had to fight on multiple fronts, and they had to conduct a nationwide test. There were too many zombies, so Garka took out the most effective method, but it only temporarily slowed down the rapid growth of zombies. Then, there was no clean land in the whole country of Garka. There were signs of zombies appearing in various places. The news could no longer be concealed. It was finally spread. Faced with a huge number of zombies, Garka was in high risk. For a time, a large number of reports about Garka began to appear in the world, which was closed off from the outside world. The killing is continuing to sweep across Garka, and the source of infection is still spreading. Garka needs support. Garka is in high risk and is about to be occupied by a steady stream of zombies. According to statistics, more than 55% of the Garka people in Garka have become zombies. Why has there been no support from countries around the world for Garka so far? The catastrophe has come again. Why did humans not work together as before, but chose to wait and see? Countless pieces of news set off an unprecedented giant hurricane around the world, spreading to every corner. This is shocking news. The whole world is shocked. Countless people were stunned and couldn't believe it. At the moment, it might only be a matter of time before Garka becomes history. What can they use to fight against the huge zombie army? How can they fight? While the whole world was shocked, the alarm was sounded again. No one is allowed to go out. Of course, the Wang's Empire was in the most danger. There were several continuous armies of Garka people. From the satellite images, they were heading towards the border of the Wangxin Empire. It seemed that they wanted to enter the safe Wangxin Empire. Chapter 291 Empire Chapter 288 Lun Gummo, I'm willing to commit suicide to apologize. What to do? This problem troubled the Wangxin Empire. Should they all be driven away? They are all unarmed lives. If they dare not leave, they are all potential dangers. For a time, this problem stumped the Wangxin Empire. As time went by, countless Garka people had gathered at the border of the Wangxin Empire and began to confront the Wangxin warriors. Let us go, we want to enter the Wangxin Empire. A disaster is happening in our Garka country, please let us go to seek refuge. The Garka people who gathered kept complaining and asking. But the Wangxin warriors remained unmoved. Before the order was issued from above, who would be willing to let these potential threats enter the empire? An officer said, I'm sorry, we haven't received any orders to accept refugees from Garka country. A chorus of complaints rang out. I thought that as long as I entered the Wangxin Empire, I would be safe and I wouldn't have to worry about the zombies' attacks, but now people don't let me go to seek refuge at all. At this time, a young man from Garka was the most excited, with veins on his forehead bulging, and he shouted loudly, it's either death or not, let's charge, as long as we rush into the Wangxin Empire, we will be safe. A conflict is inevitable. However, during the conflict, the emotional young man from Garka was lying on the ground and twitching, and a group of Garka people were terrified and could not avoid it. Suddenly, the atmosphere at the scene became serious. It was not a good sign to lie on the ground and twitch now. Because after being infected with the virus, before becoming a zombie, you will lie on the ground and twitch like a person with epilepsy. Sure enough, after a while, the young man stood up and rushed towards a young and beautiful girl from Garka like crazy. Ah, help! The Garka girl screamed miserably. Fire! The Wangxin warriors opened fire, and even shot the one who bit the Garka girl. For someone like this who has been infected, no matter who the other party is, it is only a matter of time before he becomes a zombie. The situation suddenly became more serious. The infected have already reached the border of the empire. Is it possible that there will be endless zombies on the border soon? The soldiers quickly reported the matter. The empire did not accept these refugees, nor would it accept these potential threats. But it was a humanitarian order. So the Wangxin soldiers crossed the border and tested these Garka refugees, regardless of age, and took off their clothes. Once there was a new wound on the body, no matter what the wound was, they would be killed. After a test, 3 infected people were finally detected, and they were all killed soon. Then they were given several safe camps and temporary danger areas in the territory of Garka, and all the refugees here were constantly tested. The high-level officials of the Wangxin Empire were not idle either. No one expected that the infected would appear on the border, and even the whole world did not expect the situation to become so bad. Several major empires discussed it, and before this catastrophe, they once again put aside their grievances and became allies who could turn their backs to each other. Finally, it was decided to send troops into Gaka to use iron-blooded means to eliminate all sources of infection and zombies, without the consent of the old man Lungamo. Countries have deployed troops and generals, intending to eliminate the zombies from the route before the scale of the zombies explodes into a world-class catastrophe. A large number of soldiers and supplies from Kepler planet appeared in the territory of Wang Xin Empire. They gathered with Wang Xin soldiers and stood up to the kingdom of Gaka. Lin Chen was not idle here either. At this moment, transport planes flew from Lin Chen's base to all parts of the country. Hello, Dr. Li. According to the arrangement above, you have been temporarily requisitioned from now on. Question mark. Dr. Li, who had just opened the door, was taken on the plane by a group of black-clad security personnel with a puzzled look on his face. This is just one of them, and there are more helicopters flying in all directions. Hello, Associate Professor Song, your biological blood project meets the requirements above. Now is the time for you to serve the Empire. Please come with us. Hello, Master Song, your experimental research has been adopted by the Empire. Please come with us. Without exception, all these people who were picked up were experts in biology and biochemistry. They were taken to the base. On the runway outside the base, the top leaders of the Empire have been waiting here for a long time. Suddenly, the outline of a helicopter began to appear in the sky, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. After a while, helicopters landed one after another, and biological and chemical authorities came down one after another. After some polite exchanges, the Minister of the Interior said, "From now on, you must fully cooperate with Lin Chen's work." Yes. The scientists looked at Lin Chen in confusion. Lin Chen said, "Come in first and then we'll talk." The group entered the base. All of them opened their eyes wide and looked shocked. What did they see? Not to mention seeing various cutting-edge equipment, but they actually saw crew members assembling Mechas, testing weapons, and even building power combat suits. Everyone in the base looked very busy, but if you look closely, there is a clear division of labor. The ground where you work is not here. Lin Chen said as he led them into the laboratory. Lao Wang, who had been away from the laboratory for a long time, was already waiting for them. A group of biological and biochemical scientific research teams looked at Lao Wang in confusion. Lao Wang said, "Welcome, let's make it short. I'm sure you all have heard about the disaster in the country of Gaka, right?" The scientific research team nodded one after another. They heard that the disaster was still very serious. Even the Empire began to close its borders to prevent it from happening, and even closed all crowded places. Lin Chen took over the conversation and said, "We studied a divine medicine a long time ago, but I found that there were uncontrollable side effects, so I ordered all the information to be destroyed. Today, I called everyone here to restart the divine medicine." The scientific research team was shocked. Wasn't the lesson of the country of Gaka profound enough? The core of the plan has been slightly adjusted and officially renamed the Serum Project. In layman's terms, it is an antidote that prevents the infected from being infected with the zombie virus. Here is a relevant document for you to take a look at. It may be of great help to you. As Lin Chen spoke, he retrieved a document that had been prepared long ago from his laptop. In fact, this data is the data of the serum he exchanged from the system mall. It is an antidote that can prevent the infected from turning into zombies. As long as it is injected within 3 hours after being infected, the virus in the body can be completely killed. Of course, directly taking out the data of the serum will easily arouse suspicion, thinking that the zombies were leaked from the Empire, otherwise why would there be so many sufficient preparations? So Lin Chen deliberately modified some unimportant content in the data. As long as these scientific research teams keep trying, they will eventually correct these contents. The problem of time will eventually allow the Empire to mass-produce serum, an antidote that can fight zombie infection. As time goes by, when the Wangxi Empire is completing the progress of the serum, the Gaka Kingdom finally can't stand it. It can be said that according to statistics, more than 70% of the Gaka people have become zombies. Moreover, the central area of the Gaka Kingdom has now become a restricted area for humans because there are endless zombies there. At present, the only areas that are still safe are the borders of the Gaka Kingdom. At this time, Lungamo and the high-level officials of the Gaka Kingdom have moved to a city closest to the border of the Wangxi Empire, so that they can ask for help from the Wangxi Empire in case of any accidents. But now, Lungamo has to put aside his so-called face, issue a notice to the world for help, and apologize for his previous arrogance against several empires. With a heavy heart, I ask for support from the world and apologize for my previous behavior. It was my arrogance that rejected the kindness of the major empires. Now, please see that everyone is a common destiny, and there are still countless Garka people in dire straits. Please lend a helping hand. All the guilt is the fault of me, Lungamo, and has nothing to do with others. If the catastrophe can be eradicated, I am willing to die to apologize and confess to the world. At present, Lungamo no longer has the vigor and vitality he once had. He is more like an old man sitting alone in a quiet office, looking at the once beautiful cities in the distance. If it weren't for the dream of rising up, Garka might not have suffered today's disaster. Now we can only pray for military assistance from the world. As long as they can survive this disaster, Lungamo believes that under his leadership, the Garka kingdom will rise one day and become the center of the world. Now, we are just waiting for the world to express its attitude. As soon as the news came out, the whole world paid attention. Countless Garka people who once hated Lungamo could not help but shed sincere tears at the corners of their eyes because of his touching remarks. Lungamo is actually not wrong, the mistake is that God played a joke on our Garka kingdom. The ancients often said that those who survived a great disaster will have good fortune in the future. Garka kingdom is the strongest. Countless Garka people who were hiding put their hands together and prayed that Garka kingdom must survive the crisis this time. Apart from that, it seems that there is not much feeling. As for whether Lungamo will really die to apologize, no one will take it seriously. Now, who in the world does not know the famous brothers in distress, Pussy and Lungamo? They are definitely the best in the world of pretending, and they are better at bragging than the other. No matter how ruthlessly they crashed in the end, they always had the spirit of perseverance and never giving up. So the words of these two old guys can be regarded as dog farts, and there is no need to take them seriously. Chapter 292. Wang's empire is garbage. After Lungamo issued a righteous statement, the whole world was silent, waiting for the news of the four top forces. If they didn't go to support, others would fall into the quagmire of the Garka kingdom. But no one knew that several major forces had made an agreement with each other a few days ago, and each was secretly preparing for support. Even if everyone was fighting fiercely, they would never forget that the Blue Star was their home. At this time, the infection rate in the Garka kingdom had reached its peak. The Garka people could only survive in a few cities. Lungamo was furious. All the Garka people were furious. Damn it, it's been so long, why haven't they seen any support? As time went on, the zombies in the Garka kingdom began to attack the few cities in the Garka kingdom. They had no consciousness and no wisdom, but with the attraction of gunfire, batches of zombies gathered under the city wall. The huge number could pile up the city wall even with their bodies. In the distance, the zombies were surrounding the city, and it was hard to see the end. Almost everyone was in despair. At this time, Lungamo had not yet despaired. Hearing that the zombies had the tendency to use their bodies to fight against the city walls, he thought about it and immediately notified all the city defense troops to pour gasoline and burn it. Boom! A huge flame rose from outside the city, temporarily resolving this crisis, but the next crisis will soon follow. What should we do then? At present, the Garka warriors in each city are not only exhausted physically and mentally, but even the supplies in the city are pitifully few. How can they stop the zombies in the future? Suddenly, a breath of despair filled the air. The next day, a large number of zombies began to gather under the city again, and also received messages for help from other cities from the radio broadcast. Lungamo was roaring wildly. Damn it, is the whole world ready to watch and die? The battle has reached this point, and the life of the Garka country is hanging by a thread. He can guarantee that the last dozen Garka cities left today will definitely send back news. Even the people of Garka in the city were cursing until the army appeared on the city wall again. When the city wall was breached, they could no longer care about their anger and fled in a hurry. For a time, the shadow of despair enveloped the city where Lungamo was. The situation in Garka was critical. When they heard that the zombies of Garka began to pile up and cross the city wall again, the major forces that had been watching coldly finally made a move. After reporting to the Wang's Empire, it immediately approved the order to fight across the border. In the huge airport, helicopters, transport planes, and bombers began to take off one after another. Even the Jianmeng fleet docked at the port of the Wang's Empire headed towards Garka, and their new era fleet had already begun to take off. The Polar Empire and the Sun Never Sets alliance headed towards Garka from all directions. Such a huge movement naturally did not escape the eyes and ears of those who were interested. After the publicity, the world paid attention. During this period of time, Garka and even the whole world have been constantly blackening these top forces. They said they had no sense of responsibility and watched people die without helping. They said that several top forces had forgotten their former allies and no longer led everyone to protect their common home, the Azure Star. They slandered several major forces in various ways. They kept throwing dirty water. But no matter how they slandered and threw dirty water, these top forces were like several big gangsters, still doing their own thing and not sending troops to support the Gaga Kingdom. Was it because of Lungamo's arrogance that they rejected their kindness? You know, Lungamo has apologized. Even if he doesn't want to save them, should those innocent Gaga people die? This once made several top forces instantly transform into several top gangsters, causing controversy. However, when the Gaga Kingdom was almost at the countdown for survival, several gangsters seemed to have made a move almost at the same time as if they had agreed, which made the whole world happy and resistant. It's fine if they don't make a move, but once they do, it will definitely be a stone-shattering move. On this day, the sky was clear and several top forces opened live broadcasts one after another. 4 global live broadcasts represent 4 forces and 4 directions. The Jianmeng Empire was the most powerful. Rescue ships, transport ships, and aircraft carriers on the sea were breaking through the wind and waves and heading towards the Gaga Kingdom. What was even more terrible was that more than 2 billion viewers around the world also discovered that a dense shadow was cast in the sky. What was that? Many viewers were curious. As time went on, when the camera played the objects that cast shadows, many viewers were shocked. One by one, their eyes widened, their faces full of disbelief. The Jianmeng audience was immediately excited and shouted excitedly. That's our spaceship. Our spaceships form an air fleet. Wow, it's so shocking, it's about to explode. Oh God, I'm riding my wife to watch the live broadcast and now I see the air fleet. The whole person is immediately ignited. I feel like I'm riding a top model now, not the yellow-faced woman with pockmarks all over her face. At this moment, the audience of the Jianmeng Empire was very excited. The excitement reached an indescribable level. Because they finally saw the power from the Jianmeng Empire. It was a fleet of spaceships in the air, which made almost everyone excited from the inside out. There are a total of 10 spaceships of different sizes. Especially the flying eagle pattern on the fleet, it is so handsome and cool. Although the Polar Empire and the Sun Never Sets Alliance also took out their own fleet of spaceships in the air, it is a pity that they developed later and their technology and resources are not as strong as the Jianmeng Empire, so they are much inferior. They are not even at the same level as the Jianmeng Empire. These 3 top forces have taken out the most luxurious lineups, as if rescuing the endangered Gaga Kingdom is secondary, and taking this opportunity to show off their strength is the top priority. At present, only the Wangxi Empire has not been compared. Audiences all over the world are eager to see the lineup of the Wangxi Empire, and the Jianmeng audience is the most excited. The opportunity to show off is here. There is no reason for such a powerful air fleet to lose, never. With a crash, all the global audience is squeezed into the live broadcast of the Wangxi Empire. It's not good to watch, and they were shocked at a glance, followed by a burst of laughter. Wow wow wow, what did I see? I looked carefully, but I couldn't find their spaceships. I found infantry and airplanes. Everyone laughed and was surprised. In the sight of the military force of the Wangxi Empire going to support the Gaga Kingdom, there was no sign of spaceships at all. There were only airplanes and cannons, weapons from the last era. That's it. Others have spaceships, but the Wangxi Empire is still using infantry and airplanes, combat units from the last era. Aren't they afraid of being laughed at? In this case, of course, we can't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to mock our opponents. Wangxi Empire is garbage. Countless Jianmeng people were so happy, and they had never felt so good in a day. In the past, every time they pretended to be cruel, they would eventually be ruthlessly overturned by the Wangxi Empire, so that every Jianmeng person would feel disgusted as if they had eaten shit, but now all the depression in their hearts was swept away at once. Now their Wangxi Empire is not as good as our Jianmeng Empire's spaceships. Chapter 293a. New star rises in the world of pretentiousness. Faced with such a dramatic scene, the Polar Empire and the British Sun Alliance all laughed. At least it was not shameful that they were stronger than the Wangxi Empire. At least they had spaceships that they could show off, while the Wangxi Empire did not have a single spaceship that they could show off. At the same time, Pussy also laughed, and there was a faint resentment in his heart, that is, the Wangxi Empire was not worthy of being with a powerful empire like the Jianmeng Empire. How could it feel so frustrating to go with the Wangxi Empire to support the Gaga Kingdom? Lose status. The foreign minister smiled and said, "Actually, this can't be blamed on them." Pussy was very surprised. "Why?" The foreign minister said, "Maybe their spaceships are still those small exploration spaceships on Mars. The reason why they didn't take them out may be because they were afraid of being embarrassed. Think about it, our spaceships are so powerful, and their spaceships are so terrible. If they take them out, it's not showing off, but lowering their status." Pussy nodded seriously and said, "That makes sense." He thought about it again. At present, it is not easy to have such exciting news. It would be even more perfect if we can discuss the Wangzhe Empire again. Immediately, Pussy called the Wangzhe Empire. After all, they are allies after all. It is right to help allies at this time. He can sell some obsolete spacecraft technology of the Jianming Empire to the other party. After the connection, Pussy unexpectedly met Jiang Mingjuan, who had not seen him for a long time. Pussy muttered dissatisfiedly, "How can this old thing still be alive?" Jiang Mingjuan. After some politeness, Pussy explained the purpose of his call. It seems that the Wangzhe Empire is in a difficult situation, so he is ready to sell spacecraft technology. Jiang Mingjuan asked in surprise, "Your technology?" Of course, the Jianming Empire is currently building a new cruiser spacecraft that is more than 1,000 meters long, and the subsequent spacecraft will be even larger. That's not necessary, we have better ones. Jiang Mingjuan refused the other party. Although the strength of the Jianming Empire is indeed quite shocking, it has only been a short time, and the industrial mode has been opened, and a large number of spacecraft have taken off. But the Wangzhe Empire is not necessarily inferior, and it is even stronger. Because Jiang Mingjuan vaguely remembered that Lin Chen was also working on making a new type of spaceship, a combat spaceship with a diameter of more than 3,000 meters. In comparison, it seems that the spaceship that Jianming Empire is building, which is more than 1,000 meters long, is not that good. Since there is a better one, why not wait until the zombies are eliminated to compete? I'm happy to accompany you. Jiang Mingjuan generously accepted the challenge from the other party. In fact, the desire to show off in his heart began to beat. If a person does not show off in this life, what is the point of living? Then let's race in space, and don't say that our Jianming Empire bullies you. Okay. Pussy smiled evilly. Don't fall behind. Space racing, if it were in the past, it would be absolutely unthinkable, but now, let alone space racing, they have already conquered a planet belonging to Jianming Empire with powerful weapons, so I ask if Wangzhe Empire is afraid. The two made an agreement that they would go to space racing on the day the new spaceship was built. Pussy never thought that he would lose, never. Not only that, he also announced the racing agreement between Jianming Empire and Wangzhe Empire. The previous Mechas were not as good as each other, but now Pussy has enough confidence that the spaceship of Jianming Empire will definitely beat the spaceship of Wangzhe Empire. Of course, in order to make Wangzhe Empire embarrassed once more, Pussy immediately announced a message to the world. In view of the performance of the spaceship, Wangzhe Empire has agreed to the challenge of Jianming Empire. After the zombies are eliminated, the two sides agreed to use new spaceships to compete in space racing. As soon as the news came out, it immediately set off a huge uproar in the world. Countless people were stunned. After the zombies were eliminated, the two sides were going to use spaceships to compete in space racing. After recovering from their shock, countless people felt ridiculous, and felt ridiculous for Wangzhe Empire using spaceships to compete with Jianming Empire in space racing. They are also worried. They can't even show off a new type of spaceship, so what kind of space racing is there? Before the two empires started to compete, countless people were not optimistic about Wangzhe Empire. However, after this news came out, it also made countless people feel relieved. At least this news also proved from the side that for several top forces, the zombie crisis is only a matter of time. When the military aid from all parties was still on its way to the kingdom of Gaka, Jiang Mingjuan in the Wangzhe Empire was a little worried. Or regretted it. He regretted that he should not have agreed to the provocation of the old man Pussy in a fit of anger. What if he loses? This is his first time to pretend, so he must not overturn. Uneasy, he decided to find the unreliable prospective son-in-law. At this time, the work in the spaceship base was still in full swing. Lin Chen wore a helmet and smiled. At present, the situation in the Empire is very good, and the Serum project has reached the end of the work. It should be able to reduce unnecessary Legion casualties, such as soldiers being carelessly infected by zombies. In addition, the new battleship is also going smoothly. It won't be long before, after the zombie crisis is resolved, Lin Chen can be sure that relying on the performance of a battleship, it will definitely not be a problem to fight a small space war. Even the invasion war is no longer a problem. Not long after, Jiangxia sent a message to inform Lin Chen that Jiang Mingjuan had something important to talk to him about. Lin Chen didn't know the news from the outside world yet, and he didn't quite react to why their future father-in-law came to him. Entering the reception room, Lin Chen was questioned by Jiang Mingjuan for no reason, and the main content of the questions was all about spaceships. So, let me ask you one last question, can our spaceships perform better than those of the Jianming Empire? Of course they are better, the new spaceships are enough to support a small-scale space war. Jiang Mingjuan breathed a sigh of relief and smiled, that's the best, that old guy pussy even made a bet with me. Bet on spaceships. Performance, so after the zombies are eliminated, both sides will take out the best spaceships for a space race. It's normal that you don't know because you're too busy, and now the whole world knows the news. Lin Chen's face flashed with embarrassment. After saying so much, it seems that the two old guys are going to go to space to show off. The two sides agreed that after the zombies were eliminated, they would go to space to race spaceships to see who could beat the other side. I didn't realize it before, but Yuan Lai, the prospective father-in-law, had the same hobby as Pussy, Lungamo and others. That is to enjoy the pleasure of pretending to be cool. Here. As time went on, the support of several major forces also entered the territory of Garka one after another. At the beginning, all parties directly used the most powerful weapon, the King Bomb. The large-scale firepower covered every city in Garka with zombies, and did not care about the life and death of the survivors in the city, nor did they care about the life and death of those survivors. It was already good to be able to eliminate the zombies for them. Did they have to risk being infected to rescue those survivors? So for those survivors, being directly blown to death is their best choice. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 294. Pushing all the way. Boom boom. On this day, there were constant explosions in the territory of Garka. Several top forces entered Garka from 4 directions, not only with the rising and falling explosions, but also with endless zombies, those living dead transformed from Garka people. On the side of the Wangxin Empire, the army is approaching. An armored force covering the mountains and plains is on standby. It is difficult to count how many armored vehicles there are, it is too empty. From the satellite pictures, there are at least more than 10,000 armored vehicles gathered together. These armored vehicles are also varied, with various models, including armored vehicles transferred from Tianxing. They pointed their dark muzzles in the direction of Garka, ready to launch a charge, turning the roaring steel torrent into a sharp knife, and pushing across the entire territory of Garka from east to west. Not far away is the Army Aviation Helicopter Unit. Of course, in this environment, the most dazzling is the mobile force. The style of the Marine Corps even overshadows the Mecha. Because the Marines are wearing power combat suits that even the camouflaged aliens can hardly hurt them, what can the zombies infect them with? Aren't they afraid of breaking their teeth? When 2,400 Marines wearing power combat suits gathered together, countless people were moved. They were so imposing and definitely had the power that was not inferior to the armored forces. At the moment, all combat units did not take action. Because the bombers covering the sky and the sky were going away, all of them were carrying the maximum amount of napalm bombs, ready to let the raging fire burn the evil of the zombies. After a while, dense and undulating explosions sounded in the distant cities one after another, and a vast sea of fire began to burn. In sight, there was a sea of fire. The sea of fire stretched for hundreds of kilometers, and its huge landscape seemed to eclipse even the sky and the earth. Such a shocking scene was soon noticed by the lonely Garka city waiting for help. Many Garka people were no longer desperate and were overjoyed. Fire, fire, a big fire is burning outside the city. We're saved. Everyone cheer up, reinforcements will be here soon. Kill the zombies in the city first. The lonely Garka people in the city are not only desperate, but also physically and mentally exhausted. But now, it seems that they have endless power all of a sudden, cheering and picking up weapons to fight against the zombies entering the city. Because the endless sea of fire in the distance must be the prelude to support, it must be the support of those top forces. Lungamo also heard the news of the sea of fire, and shouted in great joy. We are saved, we are saved. The Minister of the Interior hesitated for a long time and said, "It's good news for us, but for you, maybe after the zombies are eliminated, you will be arrested and judged by the whole world." Lunamo froze for a moment, holding his head with both hands and showing a look of collapse. At this time, the Wang's Empire has launched an attack. The armored forces and the helicopters of the army aviation formed a steel wall several tens of kilometers wide and drove towards the kingdom of Gaka. The Marines formed a pocket to hold the zombies that were missed. The fire started with carpet bombing. It was hard to calculate how many missiles were fired. The shells almost occupied the entire sky with thick tail flames. Boom boom, countless dust was raised, and countless buildings became ruins. After more than 10 minutes, the dust gradually dissipated, revealing a scene that was unbearable to look at. It was a scene like purgatory. Through the telescope, you can see countless pieces of meat and broken limbs on the ground. However, everyone understands that this is only the first round of attack. Zombies will never be so simple. Their terrible thing is that they have no sense of pain and do not know fear. Once they form a dense army, they can make all vehicles break down. At this time, the endless zombie army was attracted by the explosion and was walking towards the armored forces. This is the most troublesome problem. It is easy to fight but not easy to annihilate them all. But this is not difficult for the Wangzhen Empire. The terror from tactics has unimaginable power. Hundreds of Mechas took off and scattered highly concentrated gasoline. Ignite. No attack can be more direct than fire. Just a group of unthinking corpses. When another sea of fire burned fiercely in the zombie army, the stench that soared into the sky also spread, and countless zombies were burned to ashes by the raging fire while walking. As time went on, the number of zombies that were extremely troublesome to the Wangzhen Empire decreased sharply under the repeated tactics of the Wangzhen Empire. It only took 3 days. The Wangzhen Empire was almost pushing all the way to the hinterland of the Gaka Kingdom. Behind the armored group, the zombie paradise that was once called a human-restricted area has become a place where only a small number of zombies are wandering behind, waiting for the Marines to free them. Audiences around the world. Everyone is unbelievable. It can be said that the Wangzhen Empire brings shocking news to people every day. How come the highly infectious zombies are useless in the Wangzhen Empire? They are cheating. At the same time, the battle situation between the Polar Empire and the Sun Never Sets Alliance was indescribable. Although they were recovering lost territory bit by bit, the speed could be called a turtle's pace, and only the speed of the Jianmeng Empire could barely match it. Many viewers were immediately very unhappy. Why was it the Wangzhen Empire that stole the limelight every time? Why was the gap so big? But no matter what, the record of the Wangzhen Empire was definitely outstanding. It gave full play to the coordination between tactics and used the most effective strikes to continuously wear down the zombie army. Just like a scavenger, wherever he went, he would clear it. Among them, the most benefited were the countless Gaka people who had survived the disaster by chance. They cheered and boiled. Thank you, Wangzhen Empire. I swear, I must take out high-quality cow urine and the most delicious cow dung cakes to greet the heroes of the Wangzhen Empire. The heroes of the Wangzhen Empire must leave their excellent genes in the Gaka Kingdom. Because of the appearance of the Wangzhen Empire, it swept across most of the Gaka Kingdom with a crushing attitude, and also restored the order of the Gaka Kingdom. Some institutions started to operate again, such as TV stations. Every day, they reported the proud achievements of the Wangzhen Empire and constantly praised the friendly relations between the Gaka Kingdom and the Wangzhen Empire, although in fact, the two countries have been in constant friction. On the side of the Wangzhen Empire, there were countless cheers and applause. The Wangzhen Empire once again used practical actions to show the empire's dominance. What kind of monsters and ghosts, in the face of the power of the Wangzhen Empire, that is a scum. And now, it is only a matter of time to eliminate zombies. As time goes by, several top forces will succeed in the Gaka Kingdom. A symbolic victory. The zombies in the entire Gaka Kingdom have been eliminated, and it is difficult to form a huge scale that can't be seen at a glance. But the things behind are troublesome. Even if there is only one zombie, it will eventually become a potential threat again. So cleaning up the remaining zombies is the most dangerous thing. Those zombies may be trapped in a room or a secret room. If they are not careful when cleaning, they may be infected. It's unfortunate. Obviously, most of the zombies in the Gaka Kingdom have been wiped out, but no one is happy, because on the first day, 67 people were infected. A certain officer looked at the tightly tied soldiers and said in a deep voice, Give these brothers a quick death, otherwise they will become zombies in a while. Many soldiers couldn't bear to do this, but there was no other way. Even if they were not given a quick death now, they would become zombies later. The officer smoked a cigarette and looked into the distance, saying, "We are still good here, at least they can tell their families about their last words." Everyone agreed with this, because they saw with their own eyes that once the soldiers of the three forces of the Jianming Empire were infected, they would be killed immediately by their comrades. Just when everyone was about to give the infected comrades a quick death, the officer's communication rang. "Don't shoot, the antidote will be here soon." The antidote has been studied, and the first batch is being transported by a fighter plane. However, at this time, bang bang bang, a burst of dense gunfire sounded. The air suddenly froze. Everyone on the Wangzi Empire side was dumbfounded, and they all looked at the military camp on the Jianming Empire side. It seemed that they had just dealt with another batch of infected Jianming warriors. Chapter 295. What's the point of living if you can't pretend? The officer of the Wangzi Empire came up with a brilliant idea and said, "Forget it. We are all allies now. Let's not tell them that the antidote will be here soon, so that they won't feel sad and guilty for killing their comrades." Everyone was speechless. After a while, the sound of a fighter plane breaking through the air in the distant sky attracted the attention of many people. With a whoosh, the fighter plane stopped at the temporary airport. The pilot jumped down, holding a box full of technology in his hand. This pilot almost became the most eye-catching focus at the scene. He enjoyed the highest level of treatment in the army and was led by officers to the infected. In the expectation of everyone, he opened the metal box. With a light press, the box slowly popped open from both sides, revealing a serum vaccine. The pilot said, "This is the first batch of 100 serums. After the injection, the person has to be tied up because we haven't tested whether it can really prevent infection." The medic scratched his head and asked, "How to inject?" "The above told me to prick the arm." After finding the injection method, the medic immediately injected all the infected people with a serum. Then they waited anxiously for a day and a night. There was still no sign of turning into a zombie, but the infected wounds had scabbed over. Just in case, a certain officer waved his hand and tied him up for another 3 days. Everyone. Gradually, the antidote was no longer concealed. After the Allied countries dealt with a batch of infected comrades every day, they suddenly found that something was wrong. Why were they all infected, but the Wangzi Empire did not deal with any infected people? There must be something wrong. After an investigation, the Allied corps collapsed collectively. The Wangzi Empire had actually developed an antidote to treat the infection. Why didn't they say it earlier? Damn it. Many people were gritting their teeth. You know, nearly 1,000 comrades have been dealt with in these days. If they found the weirdness over there, maybe the damn Wangzi Empire wanted to keep it secret. In the end, the three major forces publicly asked the Wangzi Empire for serum supply as allies, so that there would be no more sad and angry things like dealing with comrades infected with the virus in the future. Days passed. Countless scattered zombies were found and killed. Every day, the safe area of Gaga country is expanding. This kind of life makes every Gaga countryman feel anxious. Until noon today, the zombies in the last area were cleared. The army of the Wangzi Empire returned to the empire together. Because they have found all the zombies in the divided area and confirmed them again in a dragnet manner, and the zombies have become a thing of the past and have withdrawn from the stage of history. Several other top forces have also cleared the zombies in their respective areas. Then there is only one thing left to do. A month later, because the zombie catastrophe had just begun, it was promptly extinguished by the major empires, so it ended quickly. So Lungama was sent to the World Congress and began to be judged by the whole world. This is an open and fair trial. The entire process of the trial of Lungama was broadcast live to the world for free. It was this old thing who almost made the human home a mess. At the beginning of the live broadcast, countless viewers around the world were shouting and cursing. "Kill the old guy. Why does he want the whole world to pay for his pretense? Damn it, hundreds of millions of people in the country of Gaga died, all because of him. If it weren't for him, the global economy wouldn't have entered a recession. This old guy Lungama has successfully dragged the whole world down with his own strength. He is definitely the only one in history." Many people are venting their anger. The God's vaccine that Lungama had been advocating before created zombies, which led to the world's complete closure. In this case, the economy is not circulating, factories are closed one after another, and the whole world has suffered indirect losses because of Lungama's pretense. In fact, Lungama is also speechless. Maybe he may be the first public enemy of all mankind in history. He just can't figure it out. Why can such a good thing as the God's vaccine create zombies? Otherwise, the current Gaka country will definitely rise to become the center of the world. After a while, the World Congress officially began the trial of Lungamo. The Secretary General listed many of Lungamo's crimes, including crimes against humanity, manslaughter, and the crime of destroying the world. Finally, he seemed to have thought of something and spoke again. Here is another crime, the crime of pretending to be awesome. The whole world. The Secretary General said. The trial of Lungamo has begun. Please vote for the conviction of Lungamo. After a vote, surprisingly everyone voted for Lungamo to live. Because no one wanted to make the Gaka country break the jar and hate the whole world because of Lungamo's shit, and who knows when to launch a global zombie epidemic. It is also more necessary to let Lungamo go back to build. Is it true that after executing this old thing Lungamo, the whole world will build for Gaka in the future? Everyone's request is very simple. This old thing Lungamo must put away all his tricks and stop making trouble. Now everyone has set their sights on the depths of the universe. They don't want the world home to be destroyed again. Lungamo stood there in silence for a long time, worried about gains and losses. He can live and continue to be high and mighty, but he can't pretend to be awesome in the future. How can this be possible? In his heart, he was still thinking about what kind of life he would have if he couldn't pretend to be awesome anymore. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. As the leader of the pretentious world, if he can no longer pretend to be pretentious in the future, what is the point of living? Lungamo seemed to have made a choice in his heart. He suddenly raised his head and said with a sad face, I'd better commit suicide to apologize. Everyone. This old man, is the meaning of his life to pretend to be pretentious. In fact, it's not his fault. As a naturally strong-willed Lungamo, how can he not be anxious when he sees that others are stronger than the Gaka kingdom? It's a pity that he has taken a crooked path. In the parliament, someone scolded him. It's not wrong for you, the Gaka kingdom, to show off your strength, but please don't drag the whole world to pay for you and do those messy things. That's right. Think about it with your butt up. Things that are obviously out of control will be very harmful once there are side effects. Many people scolded Lungamo. If it was a display of military strength or something, people would not be so radical. Even if it turned over in the end, it would not affect everyone. But vaccines are something that cannot be controlled. If you have no strength but insist on touching them, what is the difference between this and courting death? The debate about Lungamo's trial has been going on for a whole week. The World Parliament has come up with a set of proper handling methods, specifically for the country of Gaka. In the future, no matter how the country of Gaka demonstrates its strength, it must first report to the World Parliament, otherwise it will be sanctioned by the whole world. Lungamo shouted angrily, I don't accept it, I want to show my strength. Although he shouted all kinds of things, Lungamo had actually accepted this condition. At least he could still pretend to be cool in the future. Although he was very unhappy about reporting to the World Parliament, this was already the most satisfactory situation. Chapter 296. The Strong Empire's Self-Entertainment. Since the zombie catastrophe was resolved, the world has entered a peaceful life again in the following days. As time passed, people returned to their previous lives. However, everyone understood that this was just a moment of calm before the storm, because they had not forgotten the contest between the Jianmeng Empire and the Wangxin Empire. On this day, Pussy suddenly received good news. The battleship-class spacecraft was completed. Shocking good news, he immediately hurried to the secret base. As soon as he arrived at the base, he was shocked by the big guys in his sight before he could find that person in charge. On the expanded base site, there were neatly parked spacecraft of different sizes, including cruisers, battleships, and frigates. Such a luxurious lineup is rare, which fully demonstrates the true strength of the Jianmeng Empire. Finally, he saw the battleship-class spacecraft that had just been completed. It has a huge body of more than 1,000 meters long and can be called a real air fortress. Its construction design has abandoned the technology learned from alien spacecraft, with a strong Jianmeng Empire style, presenting a long oval shape, and even printed with the unique pattern of the Jianmeng Empire, a flying eagle. Invincible. Jianmeng Empire has truly realized a true interstellar fleet. From battleships to frigates, everything is available. At this time, the head of the base came from a distance and asked, "This is our newly completed battleship. All performance has been tested. Perfect." Pussy nodded, unable to find any faults, and said, "Not bad." The person in charge said, "Can we send us some more scientific researchers? There are not enough people in the base, and many tasks have not been completed according to the quota." Pussy froze when he heard this, and slowly said, "It's not just us now, but the foundation of the whole world is too weak, and there is a shortage of manpower." Okay. Don't be discouraged, Wang's empire is in the same situation as us, developing too fast, and talents can't keep up. After talking about this, Pussy walked around the interior of the spacecraft. The more he looked, the more excited he became. Right now, it may be the turning point for Jianweng Empire. In the past, all kinds of rollovers. But now Jianweng Empire has not only saved the world, but also has a spaceship, and good news keeps coming one after another. He suddenly thought of a brilliant idea. It's time to compete with the Wang's Empire in space and show the strength of the Jianmeng Empire. Tomorrow I will announce the news of our spaceship to the world and invite the Wang's Empire to compete. This time I will let the whole world witness the humiliation of the Wang's Empire. Pussy was full of confidence. He never thought that the speed of this battleship would be slower than that of the other party, never. Such an advanced spaceship must be faster than the other party. The person in charge said, "This battleship is the crystallization of all the technologies of the Jianmeng Empire. In fact, there is no need for a race, and the Wang's Empire is bound to lose." Pussy raised his eyes. This is really good news. The next day, the Jianmeng Empire seemed to be unable to bear this boring and peaceful life anymore, so it issued an announcement to the world. The Wang's Empire and the Jianmeng Empire once agreed to use the most superior spacecraft for a space race, and now the agreement has officially come into effect. See you on the moon in a week. The whole world was in an uproar. Countless people remembered the agreement between Jianmeng and Wangzhen. Now that the world catastrophe has passed, the Jianmeng Empire has also taken out its spacecraft and is eager to try, but why is there no news from the Wang's Empire yet? Pussy is full of confidence. It is only a matter of time before this race embarrasses the Wang's Empire. Even if the Wang's Empire spacecraft does not appear after a week, even if they give up as a coward, they will definitely lose if they go to the moon, because the speed of the Jianmeng Empire's battleships is far better than their rubbish spacecraft. Today, unlike before, has once again become a carnival day for the Jianmeng Empire. The announcement issued by Pussy made countless Jianmeng people raise their middle fingers to the sky and said contemptuously, "Hey, the Wang's Empire is really rubbish." These days, the Jianmeng Empire has not experienced the despair of pretending to be awesome and then failing, so now that they have heard the exciting good news, they are excited again. The Jianmeng people were so excited that they waved their arms, not to mention how much they let me fly. The overlord-level confidence is back, because the Wang's Empire has already lost before the space race even started. This race. It is an agreement between the two empires, and it would be embarrassing to suddenly give up. After hearing the announcement of the Jianmeng Empire, the Wang's Empire began to work overtime to build spaceships. Various super technologies continue to appear in battleships and spaceships, and their performance has been more powerfully optimized than that of the Millennium Falcon. This battleship alone can easily fight a small-scale war. However, the Jianmeng Empire cannot see these, and its understanding of the Wang's Empire spaceships is still at the level of the first generation of small exploration spaceships, and it has no idea of any information about the battleships under construction. So they brag about it every day. Jianmeng TV. The battleships of the Jianmeng Empire have excellent performance, which is more than 10 times faster than the ships of the Wang's Empire. Lighthouse Radio. The battleships of the Jianmeng Empire will become a legend in human history, and also show the overlord-class reality of the Jianmeng Empire, crushing all ships. Fayin TV. Our Jianmeng Empire ships are the best in the universe. Every day is a constant self-entertainment. The Jianmeng Empire seems to be telling the whole world that this is a race that has no comparison, because the Jianmeng Empire spaceship has already won, and it has won before the race even started. That's how confident they are. The Jianmeng Empire's shocking reversal stunned everyone. They are about to embarrass the Wang's Empire in front of the world. Countless people are optimistic about the Jianmeng Empire, because the Wang's Empire has been in the limelight and has overshadowed all forces for a time. How can people not be eager to see the Wang's Empire make a fool of itself? It would be best if the Jianmeng Empire could be as awesome as advertised and use high technology to beat the Wang's Empire's spaceship. But no one knows that the Wang's Empire's new battleship is about to be completed. This is a battleship that combines all the needs of war. Jing Minjiwan asked excitedly, "Can our spaceship fly?" Lin Chen said, There is no problem catching up with the agreed race between you and that old guy pussy. Very good. Jiang Minjiwan smiled. In his heart, he was eager to see the crazy expression of that old man pussy. Time passed little by little. There were only 2 days left before the day of the competition was announced, but there was still no news from the Wangxian Empire. This made the Jianmeng Empire's self-confidence swell. Countless Jianmeng people, from top to bottom, regardless of gender, age or young, unanimously believed that the Wangxian Empire must have been afraid in front of the Jianmeng Empire's #1 battleship in the universe and did not dare to compete, so they pretended not to know about the competition. In this case, it is even more necessary to show the strength of the Jianmeng Empire. Of course, if the Wangxian Empire admits that it is not as strong as the Jianmeng Empire, that would be the best result. So, as the day of the moon race is getting closer, Pussy can't sit still. He held a press conference of unprecedented scale. The Jianmeng Empire will go to the moon the day after tomorrow according to the racing agreement. Why is there no news from the Wangxian Empire? Is it afraid? If it is afraid, just admit defeat. This is a friendly competition. As soon as the news came out, the whole world was in an uproar. The main reason was that the world was at peace now. No catastrophe had occurred, and everyone seemed to be a little uncomfortable with the peaceful life. For a time, the world's attention was focused on the Jianmeng Empire. General Bit of the Jianmeng Empire had been promoted to the commander of the Jianmeng Empire spaceship fleet. After hearing Pussy's tough remarks, General Bit excitedly rubbed his hands, ready to avenge his previous shame in the name of the Wangxian Empire, and to gain the admiration of the world again and become the protagonist of the Blue Star. It's time for me to show off. Chapter 297. Discovering a planet with a biohazard outbreak. Faced with the provocation of the Jianmeng Empire, the Wangxian Empire could no longer hold back. Jiang Minjiwan ignored Lin Chen's obstruction, waved his hand, and strode away to show off. Now the Wangxian Empire spaceship is almost completed. He doesn't know how powerful its performance is, but he knows that Lin Chen never lies. If Lin Chen says it can be done, it can be done. Shortly after Jiang Minjiwan left, the Wangxian Empire also issued a global announcement, stating that it would definitely go to this space race and make the race more formal. The endpoint is at planet 100 light-years away. In the announcement, it is clear that the attitude of the Wangxian Empire is not afraid of the Jianmeng Empire at all. As soon as the news came out, the world was in an uproar. Is the Wangxian Empire finally unable to hold back? This is a good show to watch. And Pussy accepted the other party's change in the racing conditions generously. With his overflowing self-confidence, he never thought that the Jianmeng Empire would lose, never, because the strength of the Jianmeng Empire simply does not allow it to lose. 2 days later, the Jianmeng Empire started live broadcasting again. And their battleships have already started to rush to the moon, ready to defeat the Wangxian Empire in this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and make them lose face completely. After a while, a behemoth more than a kilometer long successfully landed on the moon. This scene was broadcast live to the Azure Star, and countless Jianmeng people cheered. Our spaceship is so powerful, it deserves to be the #1 spaceship in the universe. Blast the Wangxian Empire to establish the position of the Jianmeng Empire as the global hegemon. Ha! The Wangxian Empire trash must not dare to come. The Jianmeng people were very excited, and their language was not without easy ridicule. This was the confidence given to them by the huge spaceship, blind confidence. However, just when they were fantasizing that the reputation of the Wangxian Empire had plummeted, a spaceship of even larger scale was launched from the Azure Star. The mighty spaceship was round, and its diameter reached a terrifying size of 3,000 meters, but in terms of area, it could easily beat the battleship-class spaceship that the Jianmeng Empire had blown up. And the battleships of the Wangxian Empire not only have powerful firepower as a support point, but also have a huge internal space, which is loaded with a large number of small combat units. Among them are several Millennium Falcon spaceships, 100 Mechas, a large number of armored vehicles, marines and ground troops. Otherwise, Lin Chen would not have boasted that this battleship could fight a small-scale space war. Soon, the battleship carrying sufficient firepower arrived at the moon. The battleship of the Jianmeng Empire took off immediately, looking as if facing a great enemy, with all weapons opened. Weird. How could such a large spaceship appear on the Azure Star without anyone noticing? Could it be from the Wangxian Empire? The war was about to break out. If it was the spaceship of the Wangxian Empire, it would be fine, everyone is on the same side, but what if it was an alien? At this time, the battleship of the Wang's Empire immediately contacted the battleship of the Jianmeng Empire. "We are the spaceship of the Wang's Empire, coming to race with you, please put away your weapons." "Is it the spaceship of the Wang's Empire?" As soon as the communicators of both sides were turned on, everyone was shocked. How could the Wang's Empire have such a large spaceship without making any noise? And judging from the precision of the spaceship, it doesn't seem like a defective product produced due to insufficient technology. The worst thing is that it is bigger than the spaceship that Jianmeng Empire keeps boasting about. How is this possible? Countless Jianmeng people immediately felt nauseous as if they had eaten shit. Shite, how can they have such a big spaceship? It must be fake. Oh God, won't you let Wang's Empire fail? Protest, protest. While countless people were frustrated, Pussy was furious and yelled, "Oh, fuck, this is cheating." I thought the battleship was big enough and I was very proud of it, but when compared with the Wang's Empire spaceship, I suddenly felt that the battleship that I kept boasting about was not so good. There is even a high possibility of failure. Pussy's face was ugly. He looked at Professor Metzen and asked, "Can our spaceship win?" "It can win. Through my observation, I have found that there are no less than 10 weaknesses in the Wang's Empire spaceship, and our battleship is a perfect spaceship without any flaws." After saying this, Pussy felt very happy and signaled the other party to continue. Metzen boasted, "Their spaceship is big, which means that the speed must not be fast, and flexibility is also a problem, etc." Pussy nodded and agreed deeply. The confidence that had just been lost returned. After a while. After a series of preparations, the first space race on Azure Star officially began. The spaceship was used to transmit the signal back to Azure Star for the convenience of people all over the world to watch. If it were in the past, this would definitely not be possible. Of course, we should also thank those alien spaceships for coming to Azure Star to break the ideas bound by the times. At this time, the words countdown appeared on the screens of both sides. More than 7 billion viewers around the world were watching the live broadcast at the same time. Suddenly, the screen said, 54,321. The competition has begun. Start the spaceship jump technology. Start the warp engine. The two spaceships used the maximum power to jump in space at the beginning. 100 light-years was definitely a distance that could not be reached in a lifetime in the past, but now, 100 light-years is just a few dozen hours, not too far. Pussy clenched his fists confidently and said, "We will definitely win this time. Wait until the Wang's Empire loses all its face." General Bit in the battleship also had the same expression. Even most of the Jianmeng people were breathing rapidly. They were eager to see the speed of the Jianmeng Empire's battleships completely beat the opponent, so that they could taunt their opponents again. However, the car was never absent, as if the goddess of fate had identified the Jianmeng Empire. The Jianmeng Empire had just finished the psychological preparation for victory. The speed of the slap in the face was comparable to a tornado, so fast that every Jianmeng person remained motionless in the previous second, like a clay sculpture or a wooden sculpture caught off guard. Because they saw from the first-person perspective that the battleships of the Jianmeng Empire had just started the jump technology, and the giant spaceships of the Wang's Empire had already turned on the warp engine, and then whoosh, it disappeared. At a speed that did not even see the stern lights, it had already firmly left the battleships that the Jianmeng Empire desperately advocated by 100,000 miles. Countless Jianmeng people almost habitually began to hold their heads with their hands, shouting in pain. "Oh no, that's it. How dare you brag about this kind of rubbish battleship every day? What kind of battleship is the best in the universe? What kind of spaceship performance is a legend in human history?" As a result, everything was exposed at the beginning of the race. I thought I would beat the opponent, the imagination was beautiful, but I was defeated by the harsh beating of reality, and I didn't even see the opponent's stern light. At this time, Pussy's face was particularly ugly. Another ruthless overturn. With a bang. He flicked the table angrily and roared, "Come on, send this idiot Metzen to Mars to dig fairy vines." His mentality collapsed immediately. According to the subsequent plot, shouldn't the Jianmeng Empire slam the face of the Wang's Empire in front of the eyes of the whole world? Why did it overturn again? Damn it. This revenge will be avenged sooner or later. Audiences all over the world. They were all dumbfounded. Why is the Wang's Empire spaceship so fast? This is different from what the Jianmeng Empire reports every day. Isn't their spaceship the best in the universe? Now is the time to use the gorgeous drift to show off to the Wang's Empire. But the battleships of the Jianming Empire are completely inconsistent with the content of the propaganda. It is like a paraplegic, still swaying slowly in the same place. No matter what kind of mentality the Azure Star has. At this time, the so-called space race has an answer, because anyone with a discerning eye can see that the Wang's Empire has won. However, neither the Wang's Empire nor the Jianming Empire returned to the Azure Star, and they are still heading towards the end of the race. Because there is a habitable planet 100 light-years away from the Azure Star. The battleships of the Wang's Empire have successfully thrown the battleships of the Jianming Empire out of the distance of more than 108,000 miles. 2 days later, the battleships of the Wang's Empire successfully arrived at the end of the race, a brand new habitable planet. As soon as they entered the planetary orbit, the battleships of the Empire made a major discovery. They found an artificial satellite on the periphery of the planet. A satellite that is still operating normally. This proves that this planet has excellent technology and cutting-edge scientific researchers. When the news was transmitted back to the Empire, the news was quickly known to the whole world. Most forces had no way to deal with it, but the Jianming Empire was different. They had a complete space fleet. Both empires were waiting for further news. Lin Chen issued an order. Capture a satellite and check the specific information of the planet. After the order was given, the battleship immediately opened the hatch to capture the satellite. Immediately afterwards, a series of input data for the satellite was input into the spacecraft to obtain specific information about this life planet. Perhaps because of the problem of human structure, the human race in the universe has almost the same characteristics. Therefore, the process of entering the satellite to obtain information from the CNC terminal was very smooth, but only a very small part of the useful information was obtained, and the satellite was shut down. It seems that it was shut down manually. All the people in the Wang's Empire battleship. All the people watching the live broadcast on the Blue Star. At this time, the battleship fed back the message again. The captain was the former captain of the aircraft carrier Bias. He reported. Through the translator, a biohazard has broken out on this planet. The world is out of control now. The artificial satellite was manufactured by a company called Umbrella. Just now, for some reason, the satellite was suddenly shut down. It seems that the Umbrella company shut it down urgently. As soon as the news came out, the world was shocked. A planet with a biohazard outbreak? Chapter 298 The Mysterious Umbrella Corporation. What is a biochemical crisis? There is no need for popular science. The whole world has deeply experienced it. It can be said that the catastrophe that just passed in the country of Gaka is a biochemical crisis. But I never thought that a biochemical crisis broke out on a planet on the other side of the starry sky. However, the only difference is that the Blue Star has put out the catastrophe of zombies, but that unknown planet has not been put out. Instead, it has broken out globally. Faced with that situation, it is not necessary to say that the life on it has reached a precarious point. However, this dangerous planet is not a crisis for civilizations like the Blue Star that have entered into stellar travel, but an opportunity. Because the outbreak of a biochemical crisis proves that most of the forces on that planet have collapsed, and many people are living in dire straits. Everyone has seen this situation in the country of Gaka. In other words, that planet still has many things that the Blue Star wants, such as cutting-edge talents. It just makes up for the embarrassment of the Blue Star's lack of foundation in this regard. Give those cutting-edge talents a safe and secure life, will they still come to the Blue Star? So Pussy immediately ordered the battleships to move forward at full speed, and all the spacecraft took off. Prepared to do something big, rob and plunder. Dare not to obey? Then beat them until they obey. And Lin Chen didn't even say hello, he called the troops and rushed into space with all the spacecraft of the Empire. The two empires have the same goal. Anyway, the planet is almost finished, so of course they have to rescue the scientific researchers on the planet. At this time, on the planet where the biochemical crisis broke out, the world's strongest company, Umbrella Corporation, was almost dumbfounded. An alien spacecraft of advanced civilization captured the satellite of Umbrella Corporation. That's right, it's an alien spacecraft of advanced civilization. In the universe, as long as you can find the other civilization, it belongs to advanced civilization, and there are spacecraft for interstellar travel. Can they do it? No. Because of this, Umbrella Corporation was so scared when the satellite was captured that they didn't dare to breathe, and even hurriedly held an emergency meeting concerning the life and death of Umbrella Corporation. At the meeting, the heads of each branch all looked solemn. A certain person in charge looked at the many virtual images and said in a deep voice, "You all know that our satellite was captured by a spaceship just now. It may not be a bad thing for a spaceship to come to our planet. Perhaps our technology can be further developed. Maybe we can also use aliens to study biochemical weapons. Maybe the spaceship can bring us a devastating blow. We are currently underground, and alien civilizations cannot find us. There are zombies on the ground. Maybe the aliens were infected by zombies as soon as they landed." At the meeting, everyone discussed for a long time and came up with a safe solution. Alien civilizations are very exciting. If they are used for experiments, they may have progressive results, but their civilization is stronger than their umbrella company. In the end, everyone discussed for a long time, but they didn't know the details of aliens yet, so they decided to take a laissez-faire attitude towards alien civilizations, observe for a period of time, and then make contact. It would be best to use some means to obtain information and intelligence about this civilization. In that case, maybe the umbrella company will be able to truly become the most powerful force. So after the meeting, the top executives of the various branches of the Umbrella Corporation were all excited. They were eager to obtain the technology and intelligence of the alien spacecraft. At the time, with the power of the Umbrella Corporation, they could go to a brand new planet to continue to study biochemical weapons. And here, Lin Chen, who set out from the Azure Star, has approached the battleship that is still wandering in the planetary orbit after a long journey in the universe. After a while, a Millennium Falcon entered the battleship from space. Lin Chen appeared in the battleship, looked at the captain, and asked, "Send a signal, enter the biochemical planet." The fleet marched into this biochemical planet. Please remember, they are not here to save this planet, but to save those useful cutting-edge talents. As long as they are scientific researchers who need safety protection, even the Empire's fleet can use spacecraft to rescue them personally. As for others, who cares about the life and death of useless people? Soon, the fleet where Lin Chen was entered this biochemical planet. What came into view was a deserted desert. Occasionally, some houses could be seen in the desert, but unfortunately, there were no people, only wandering zombies. From this, it can be seen that the biochemical crisis is indeed broken out on this planet. This made Lin Chen and others very regretful. There was not even a native who could inquire about the specific information. The speed of the spacecraft entering the planet slowed down, and it sailed aimlessly at a normal speed. After a while, the captain of the battleship came to the news and found the traces of the natives of this planet. Lin Chen was quite surprised and said, "Natives? Yes, the characteristics are closer to those of the Jianmeng people. Let me see." A small satellite left by the battleship began to work. The satellite on the tablet began to broadcast the picture. It was a group of dusty natives fighting zombies, or being chased and beaten by zombies. Lin Chen paused his hand and said with interest, "Wait, this woman is a bit interesting." In sight, there was a blonde woman. Although she was dirty all over, from her outline, it can be seen that she was once a blonde beauty. The group of natives were being chased and beaten by zombies, but the blonde woman was very agile and was constantly harvesting zombies. The captain said, "Yes, judging from her agility, she is above the special forces. The zombies on this planet seem to be more powerful than those created by the Garca Nation." Lin Chen muttered to himself, and finally added, "Fly over and save those natives. We need information about this planet so much now." The speed of the battleship immediately increased a lot, like a huge suspended city passing through the thick clouds, cutting through the sky, and leaving a shadow stretching for thousands of meters on the ground. After a while, the huge battleship had arrived above the group of natives and was slowly descending. At this time, the group of natives on the ground recovered and began to use the weapons in their hands to eliminate the zombies. There were not many zombies in fact. The reason why they chased them at the beginning was because they appeared too unexpectedly. After recovering, they finally wiped out all the zombies here after losing many companions. Just as the natives breathed a sigh of relief, a shadow suddenly appeared. The natives subconsciously looked up at the sky. Suddenly, they saw a scene they would never forget. A huge spaceship appeared and was slowly descending, as if it had locked onto them. "It's the Umbrella Company, everyone run!" The agile blonde woman shouted to her companions. The reason why they were so sure that the huge spaceship was from the Umbrella Company was because the blonde woman had sensed that the Umbrella Company's people were nearby through some kind of induction. Now, another spaceship appeared, and basically everything matched up. Chapter 299 Umbrella Corporation and Security Director Alice. In fact, the blonde's perception was not wrong. The Umbrella Company was nearby, and the zombies they encountered were also caused by the Umbrella Company. The battleship had nothing to do with the Umbrella Company. On the contrary, it was because of the appearance of the battleship that the Umbrella Company's investigation team was so scared that they hid and didn't dare to breathe. But this was also good for the Umbrella Company. At least they could get to know the aliens for the first time and understand what the purpose of the aliens coming to this planet was. At this time, after the blondes shouting, the group of natives didn't even want the bodies of their companions, and rushed into the car to escape. It seemed that they all had a natural fear of the Umbrella Company. Even if they were not from the Umbrella Company, they also felt fear from the depths of their souls. Because as the spacecraft slowly landed, that kind of powerlessness almost spread all over the body. These natives got in the car, stepped on the accelerator to the bottom, and the back of the vehicle was filled with rolling dust. But this was a piece of cake for the giant battleship. At the same time, what happened below was also transmitted back to the interior of the spacecraft. Captain. ... Lin Chen said. Open the rear hatch, send a fume chase out, don't let those natives run away. The order was conveyed quickly. The rear hatch of the battleship opened immediately. 5 Mechas flew out. They showed off their power and performed a series of difficult actions for the natives who were driving away, such as holding down a running car with one hand, and lifting the top of the car with a sword. The group of natives finally stopped screaming and running away. They got out of the car honestly, knelt on the ground and raised their hands to surrender. It was done in a smooth and seamless manner. Dong dong dong. 5 Mechas landed around the formation, guarding the group of natives. At this time, the battleship had already flown over the heads of the crowd and stopped talking. A hatch slowly extended down, and a team of Marines came out to strengthen the vigilance of the natives. At this time, the natives had only one thought in their hearts, that is, aliens? It's no wonder they think so. With Mechas and power combat suits, they feel that the other party is not human at all, and even less like Umbrella Company. After confirming that the ground was safe, Lin Chen, the battleship and the captains came down. They all looked at the natives with a scrutinizing gaze, and the natives were also looking at Lin Chen and others. In any case, Lin Chen and others could appear in human form, and there was no sign of the Umbrella Company, which immediately made the natives relieved. Finally, Lin Chen asked, "Where are your heads?" It has been learned from the Ming dynasty that humans can communicate almost without language barriers due to the structure of their bodies. The natives looked at each other, and finally 2 blonde women and a man came out. Lin Chen's eyes focused on the agile woman. It seemed that the woman also felt something, looking at Lin Chen and asked, "Are you from the Umbrella Company?" Lin Chen answered generously, "No, we're from other planets. This biochemical planet has a high level of technology, and it is not difficult to understand the meaning of planets. I was surprised that aliens from afar also have humans, but the natives are more worried about the lives of themselves and others. Since you are not from the Umbrella Corporation, why did you capture us? We have no ill intentions. We invaded the Umbrella Corporation when we came here. We learned that a biochemical crisis broke out on this planet, so we came to rescue cutting-edge talents. We captured you just to learn about this world." As they talked, everyone realized that this was actually a misunderstanding. The natives sat on the ground one by one, relieved. The blonde woman let down her guard and smiled, "My name is Alice." At this time, even if you want to be on guard, it is futile, because she dared to guarantee that with such a terrifying power, it is impossible for mortals to resist it, even if the Umbrella Corporation came. Lin Chen. After the introduction, the natives became very interested in this spaceship, or rather, they had a strong hope. Are they here to save mankind? Wouldn't they be safe in the future and no longer have to face those devil-like zombies? Alice asked, "Are you here to save us?" "Not to save you, but to save people who are valuable. If you are valuable, we will send you to a planet without any crisis. I believe it, because I am valuable. I have everything you want. I used to be the security director of the world's largest company, Umbrella Corporation, responsible for the safety of the hive." Lin Chen. ? Alice's eyes were shining, looking at Lin Chen, who always kept a certain safe distance from her. As if she was lost in memories, she began to talk about her own value, saying, "It's like this. Umbrella Corporation thought it could control the virus, but they were wrong. Raccoon City was just a revelation. Within a few weeks, the T-virus occupied the entire United States. After a few months, the virus occupied the whole world. The environment for human survival was severely damaged. Constant drifting is the way of survival for the survivors. After another conversation, Alice made full use of her value and won Lin Chen's recognition. If what you said is true, I can approve all of you to be under our protection, and you will be included in the first list of transfer personnel, and you will be sent to settle on an ancient human planet without any pollution. Alice smiled and said, "We're happy to do so." Her words were full of disgust for this planet. If they could settle on an ancient planet without pollution, it would be a paradise. This is the expectation of every survivor on the biochemical planet. Lin Chen, who was full of confidence, was fully confident that these people would not make any waves, so he said very generously, "Come on, unload their weapons and take them to take a bath first." A group of natives were taken into the spacecraft by the warriors to take a bath and began to settle down. Of course, this is a nice name, but it is actually house arrest to prevent them from doing bad things. Lin Chen stood there for a long time, still thinking about the value and intelligence that Alice had just mentioned. Umbrella Corporation is an evil company. Living experiments, biochemical experiments, as long as they can think of it, they will all be turned into experiments. This is a company of a group of lunatics. And there is also a powerful artificial intelligence Red Queen. These are what Lin Chen wants. Although there are artificial intelligences for sale in the system mall, Lin Chen thinks there are great disadvantages, because the artificial intelligences in the system mall are too advanced, so they all have their own emotions. The Red Queen mentioned by Alice is different. It will only faithfully execute orders, even if the order is a self-destruction program. A captain looked at Lin Chen and asked, "Are we too relaxed our vigilance against them?" Lin Chen asked back, "What threat do you think they can pose to us?" The captain was silent, as if there would be no threat, because before the transfer of personnel, these people will be locked together, and the spacecraft is nothing more than providing them with the necessary conditions for survival. Lin Chen said, "Their words are 9/10 credible. We have given them hope, and the woman named Alice has not yet told us all the information, fearing that we will kill the donkey after it has done its job." All the captains nodded in unison. They all heard it. The woman named Alice seemed to be a powerful figure in the Umbrella Company before. With her, the fleet can save more cutting-edge scientific research talents in the shortest time. At this time, a technical soldier ran out and reported, "Report, just found a signal fluctuation nearby, in the dilapidated building." After speaking, he pointed to the building 400 or 500 meters away. Everyone looked in the direction of his gaze. It was this scene that scared the Umbrella Company investigation team who were hiding and secretly observing everything here to death. Chapter 300. The Complex Human Heart Discovered. This was the first thought of the investigation team. Everyone's back was chilled. Their mission was actually to capture Alice and bring her back. They didn't expect to have an unexpected surprise and get intelligence about aliens at close range. And now, through observation, they found that Alice, the bitch, seemed to have reached some consensus with the other party, and they seemed to have been discovered. In this case, the investigation team looked fierce. A certain doctor shouted, "Quickly retreat." The investigation team immediately jumped on the helicopter and fled directly to Quanfan. Intelligence showed that the aliens were also human, but they looked very strong, with Mechas and spaceships. How could the Umbrella Company fight them? Could it be relying on their own small pistols? Can this thing really cause damage to a spaceship thousands of meters long? The Umbrella Company's helicopter flew at a very low altitude and quickly fled to Quanfan, which just happened to give the zombies on the ground an opportunity to take advantage of it. A zombie jumped on the plane and caused quite a commotion. This scene was just caught by the sight of Lin Chen and others. A helicopter fleeing far away. It was most likely the Umbrella Corporation that Alice mentioned. Lin Chen said, "Quick, call out the native named Alice." A soldier immediately ran into the spaceship. At this time, the natives of this planet were locked together after taking a shower, and they were still talking about the spaceship. Are they disguised by the Umbrella Corporation? This was the doubt in everyone's mind. On this issue, Alice was sure, and said, "No, the Umbrella Corporation has a unique logo, and the technology in this spaceship has far surpassed the Umbrella Corporation. Their people obviously have black hair and black eyes. Have you noticed their logo? Wang's Empire. Yes, they are most likely humans from another planet, and their country is called Wang's Empire." Everyone agreed with Alice's words. But thinking that they were imprisoned, it was very unpleasant, and there was a sense of falling into a tiger's den and a wolf's den. Don't think too much. These people seem to be just as they said. They have no ill will towards us. Of course, this premise is based on whether our own value is useful to them. What kind of value can attract their attention? Through the conversation, I found that they came here not to save the world, but for talents and scientific researchers. Perhaps it is because they value talents more. I think talents will become advanced civilizations. Alice's conversation calmed everyone's hearts. In any case, their survival is at least guaranteed. There is no need to keep running outside to avoid endless zombies. And the food they give is great. It's rice that I almost forgot what it tastes like. Unbelievable, the other party is really rich. At this time, the mechanical door that imprisoned the group of surviving natives was slowly opened. When the heavy doors completely opened, several soldiers appeared. A soldier said, "Who is Alice among you? Our Professor Lin found a helicopter and would like to invite you to come over." The blonde woman Alice slowly stood up, frowned, and there were two small metal daggers between the fingers of her hands. In the end, he chose to follow them, but he was on guard against the soldiers in the corridor along the way. Very strong. This was the intuition given to Alice by the soldiers, which was definitely not comparable to the security personnel of the Umbrella Company. After a while, Alice was taken to the rear door. Lin Chen glanced at her and couldn't help but look at her again. After taking a shower, this blonde woman looked much more beautiful, no longer as dusty as before, and her face still had a heroic temperament. Being stared at like this made Alice feel very uncomfortable. This feeling was as if she was not wearing any clothes and was seen naked by the other party. Lin Chen retracted his gaze, pointed at the escaping helicopter, and asked, "Is that the Umbrella Company's plane?" Alice took a look and hurriedly said, "Yes, shoot it down quickly, otherwise the Umbrella Company will definitely attack you." Lin Chen stopped him and said, "I want to see where this helicopter can escape to. Is there a branch of the Umbrella Company nearby?" "There is one." "Is there what I want in it?" "I don't know for the time being. There are too many branches of the Umbrella Company. I need to enter this branch to find out where you want." Lin Chen nodded and gave an order to the technical soldier using the communicator. "Detect the location of the helicopter." After that, Lin Chen turned his head and said to Alice, "I like people like you who don't procrastinate. Don't worry, as long as you can give me what I want, I promise to take you away from this planet." Alice smiled and shook her head, stretched out her hands, and said, "Yes, deal." Two small daggers fell. Clatter at the same time when the daggers fell to the ground, at least 50 particle beam guns were pointed at Alice. "Release the alert." Lin Chen rubbed his brows. Sure enough, the survivors who have survived the outbreak of the biochemical crisis will not easily trust anyone. The fleet's small satellite began to play a role. At this time, the helicopter of the Umbrella Company hurriedly fled back to the branch. After entering the branch, one of the investigation team quickly went into the laboratory to inject himself with serum, while the others were taken away to meet with other branches to report what they saw today. Hearing that the news was about aliens, the heads of all the major branches went online to connect the images. The conference room was originally an ordinary table. Soon, the heads of all the major branches went online, and virtual images appeared around the table. Virtual images that were almost the same as real people showed how powerful the technology of the Umbrella Company had become. Several people from the investigation team came to the table. A meeting that could be said to be real began. The head of a branch asked excitedly, "What is the situation with aliens?" The investigation team said, "They are human beings." As soon as this was said, there was an uproar. Many heads were shocked. "What? It's actually human? Are there humans on other planets?" It turns out that the alien spaceship that scared them so much actually contained humans. Every person in charge was very upset, because the Umbrella Corporation is the master of mankind and the god of mankind. But they actually felt afraid of humans. The investigation team reported again. Yes, their technology seems to be very powerful. The diameter of the spaceship should be more than 3,000 meters, and there are flying Mechas and fully armed soldiers. At this time, the hearts of the heads of the major branches were once again in turmoil. Because the other party has a fatal attraction to the Umbrella Corporation. The alien's body. The alien's technology. Heartbeat, jealousy, this is the expression of the heads of the major branches at the meeting. In this case, the heads of the major branches smiled knowingly. The Umbrella Corporation is not short of conspiracy and tricks. Send people to contact the other party first, and then use the complexity of human hearts to set a trap for them. In this way, in the end, everything about the other party will be the Umbrella Company's immediate perfect plan. In comparison, the Nemesis plan is simply shit and worthless. If Umbrella obtains the opponent's spaceship, it might even be able to go to the aliens' planet and rule the world from there. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.